When does the fantasy start?
Quick, it's Daniel. He's trapped under a wagon. You know for a fact that he will be crippled for life. He looks like he's repaired his broken leg. The boy, Jacob, just the world opens up beneath him and he is gone. This has raised the entire town.
Would you be able to retrieve me some healing herbs?
Honestly, we better go with her. Like, she ain't gonna come back if she goes into that forest.
You all went to sleep last night. It got to the point where it was too dark for you to carry on, and you kind of settled down in Gary's little wood-cutting shack to get some much-needed rest after what was quite an experience in the town of Final Rest the night before. So, just something I forgot to mention last time, just to kind of bring the richness of the world up a little bit of a notch, I think. So the town of Final Rest is situated, obviously, as you know, a little distance away from the woods, a couple of hours walk. And I mentioned actually that it was on a crossroads. Now, it is on a crossroads, one half of which is an actual road that leads round from the north, going down south. And the other half is actually a dry riverbed, which is the river that used to feed into the Crystal Mirror Lake, which, as everybody knows, is what then dried up during the cataclysmic event known as the Folly, and became the Salt Pit. Now this... Huh?
I did know this.
See, there you go. Yeah, look at that. And so you can kind of see on the map, you guys will be able to see on the map the trail you would have followed. And Gary's shack is essentially on the riverbank of that dried up river, because that's kind of used as a road, and it's the path that is used to go through the Mage's Folly Wood safely, because it's wide enough that there's no trees really, and it's the route that the miners take to get to the shore side town that was once inhabited and now is no longer, that they use as a base of operations for when they're doing the mining. So I just wanted to kind of put that into context for everybody, kind of see where you are and kind of feel what it is that what you're doing and kind of where you are. So this dry riverbed, it's dry, but it's also kind of obviously where the magic that caused the salt pit to turn into salt, that also kind of spread up the river a little bit, and it's kind of like as you get into the woods, you can kind of see that the riverbed isn't just dry, it starts to get a bit salty as well. Like the salt deposits and the salt itself, actually it does flow up the river, well, not flow obviously, but it does kind of come up the river a little bit, and you can kind of see where the river's dried up as a reaction almost to the fact that there's nowhere for the water to go anymore, and it's just kind of this magic has essentially slowly over time worked its way up the stream to prevent there from being any flow. And actually, if you were to follow the dry riverbed up down, I suppose, towards the south where the hills are, the Dwarven Hills, you'd actually see that there was a fork in the river, and essentially that fork that goes south and actually is the river that goes through the Elven Wood, that when the folly happened and the riverbed dried up, that's actually where the rest of the water ended up going, and that's what caused that river to be such a big river now. It was a much smaller river before, but now that flows in, and that's actually the reason why there's swampland in the south, is because that river essentially ended up being twice as big as it was before. So that's just kind of a little bit of world setting for you there in terms of what it is that's in the general area, and kind of a little bit of a history of how the geography has formed. That's kind of all relatively common knowledge for most of you. Probably less likely that Nyla would know that, having not been out of the forest, and less likely that Gary would know that because he's really stupid.
Really dumb.
Hey,
He cares not for
come
history.
on. He knows everything he needs to know to cut wood. And that's
Exactly, and that's
axes.
He knows where his shack is and where wood is.
Absolutely.
100%.
So we spent the night here. Obviously, we're journeying into the forest to try and find herbs, as the Americans put it, for medicinal purposes. Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's the idea.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. How far away are we now, having stopped for the night?
So you've stopped for the night, and you are essentially, Gary's shack is probably an hour, 3/4 of an hour away from the edge of the forest. He didn't build it too close, but obviously it needs to be close enough to be able to get to the woods and get the wood to be able to chop relatively easily.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of text here for you about your evening in Gary's shack. Your sleep is undisturbed, and you awaken feeling well rested, but unable to keep hold of the dreams that filled your head. Nyla, you remember trees, great oaks and supple willows, and it fills you with the wistfulness of one who misses home. Elias, you remember golden light tracing out like lightning, and the feeling that it is approaching. Grandel, you remember warmth and a sense of belonging, tempered by the dull thud of guilt. And Gary, you dream of birdsong, and as you wake, the song continues. It comes from the forest, and you feel uneasy, but it takes a moment to realise why, and then it hits you. You've never actually heard the sound before. Not coming from the woods, anyway.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Can we see the woods from Gary's deck?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I kind of picture it. It's not necessarily in the woods, but it's kind of.
No, it's
Okay.
probably like I say,
Mini
it's
clearing,
probably it's essentially there's virtually nothing apart from grassland between the woods and Final Rest, and Gary's shack is essentially just 95% of the way towards the woods. Nobody would settle down that close to the woods, and it's obviously one of the reasons why Gary obviously said that you shouldn't be going into the woods on your own at night.
Okay, in which case I'm still going to be like, before we went to bed, I was like nosing around Gary's shack, and I'm going to continue to nose because I'm still absolutely fascinated by this seemingly well-mannered and non-violent half-scorn. He's obviously an anomaly. He's obviously like different in some way. I'm just trying to work out if he's like under a spell, something weird happening. Like, just confused immensely.
Okay.
You're not willing to believe that he's just a nice guy.
No, half-scorn are the devil. Like, they are violent and awful.
Racist.
Yes.
I mean, some stereotypes are true.
Grandel is filling up a hip flask that he has with some of the moonshine that he was drinking the night before.
Yes, nice.
Take with him.
Yeah, be careful with that. I think I've done this one right, but there was a couple I had a couple of weeks ago. Just I don't know, not blind is like maybe the wrong word, but like definitely hazy vision. So
Right.
just go, just go steady on it, you know.
See, I mean, hazy vision is one of the objectives as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but like it was like honestly, it made life challenging.
Gazes at Gary for a long moment, and then kind of sniffs the hip flask and closes it and puts it in his pocket.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Pretty sure I've done it right.
Well, we'll see, or we won't.
You shall indeed. Just as an aside, actually, I've just remembered something, John. For you, obviously, everybody else hasn't actually done anything in terms of using any of their skills. But as you've essentially just had a short rest in terms of a little bit of a nap, did you want to make a will save to see whether or not you can get back one of your spell slots?
You know I do.
That's what I thought.
It's a 6. It's a pass.
Excellent. So, just for everybody else's benefit, for the guys and obviously the listeners, do you want to explain the way short rests work?
Okay, so basically, after what can be considered a meaningful combat or encounter, you can spend a few minutes recovering and tending to injuries. Basically, what you do is you do a series of will checks that you can use to either regain lost hit points, recover expended class abilities, or recover reroll dice. And basically, there's 3 options. During one day, you can have up to 3 short rests. On one of them, you get to make 3 saves. On another, you get to make 2. And another, you get to make 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can pick any one of the 3 options, but obviously, you can only do it 3, 2, and 1 times throughout the day.
But you can do it in any order, and it doesn't matter what everyone else in the party has chosen to do. If Elias if Elias chooses to do just 1 will save, it doesn't mean that Gary couldn't choose to do 3, for instance.
You do also get your con modifier as extra rerolls. Not rerolls, but so my con modifier is +1. So one of the 3 short rests I do a day, I can roll effectively 1 more.
Yeah, so essentially your con modifier gives you a number of additional will saves you can choose to make.
Okay.
So if you have a +1 con, you get 1 additional will save you can make at any point during the 24 hours. During a short rest. So either one of the 3 short rests you have, you can then add an extra one if you want to. And if you obviously have 3 +3 con, you have 3 additional will saves you can make wherever you want, which would essentially allow you to make, 2 of your short rests into 3 will save ones and 1 of them into a 2. So it's really up to kind of like what situation you're in. So in regards to what you can actually do in terms of spending the will saves you succeed. So once per short rest, you can choose to spend a successful will save on recovering hit points. The hit points you recover are equal to half of your lost hit points plus your con modifier. You can also choose to regain spell slots. You can do that as many times as you want in the 24 hours. So essentially that's spell slots, or if you've used, your Cat's Grace thing, Grandel, where you can choose to make a successful check to keep balance, that sort of thing. If you use that, you'd be able to regain that by using a will save. Same with the things that Nyla can do as part of her ranger abilities, and I'm sure there's ones that Gary has as a barbarian as well.
I've got rogue tricks as well.
Yeah, so that's what you can gain back essentially. Whereas obviously John, being a wizard, he gets the magic user. Sorry, he gets the spell slots back.
I can't regain spell slots of the same level multiple times in the same day.
Yes, that's a good point.
Just
So
to make it extra complicated.
so that makes it extra hard because I've only got first level spell slots, so I can only do that once a day anyway. I can't do it every rest.
Yeah, but when you get to a second level, you'll be able to essentially gain 1 first level and 1 second level spell slot every 24 hours if you successfully make the will saves. So I think it's quite good. It adds a little bit of difficulty in terms of planning what it is you're going to be able to do on a short rest. You don't necessarily always get the same stuff back on a short rest.
It does also allow us at some point to get some hit points back because we have no other means to do that.
So, in that example, either spells or abilities, if you fail the will roll to get it back, can you use another one of your rolls in that short rest, or does it have to be a separate short rest that you can try again? Or can
So I think essentially what it is, you make the will saves, you make a number of will saves equal to however many you've chosen, 1, 2, or 3, or any bonus ones. You then assign the successful will saves to what you want to spend them on.
Okay.
So if you've got 2 will saves that are successful, you might say, okay, well, I'd need the hit points back because I've got very few hit points, so I'll have the hit points, and then you can then choose, do I want one of my rerolls back, or do I want one of my class features back? And it kind of gets you choose where it is you want to spend them. Obviously, if you'd chosen to make only 1 will save, and you wanted, or you'd chosen to make 2 will saves, and you only succeeded on one of them, you then have the ability to choose, do I want to spend it on hit points, or do I want to spend it on something that might help me, survive that's actually not a hit point, like a class ability. Hopefully that makes sense. I just thought that was a good idea to kind of mention that now, and then hopefully when we get to doing short rests again later, we'll be in being a better position to kind of explain that, to kind of do it rather than having to explain it again, hopefully.
Yeah, I think Elias is the only person who needs anything from a short rest at the moment. Isn't
He was, yeah. It just seemed to make sense as an opportunity to use it to explain.
No, absolutely.
Can I explain something about the luck saves we were doing last time?
Yes, please do. Also, the other thing we wanted to kind of cover off.
Yeah, so luck saves, as we all found out last time we recorded, we did the luck dex save when the building collapsed. So it was your luck modifier, your luck score plus your dex modifier. When you're given the option to do a luck save, it is exactly that. You don't have to. It is purely optional, because if you succeed on the save, your luck is reduced by 1. If you fail on the save, it doesn't actually affect your modifier. I don't know if people last time changed their luck.
I just have done it because you've reminded me that I
I think actually,
who actually passed was
Nyla.
Yeah. So Johnny, me, and Mark didn't need to actually adjust our luck because we failed. Nyla passed, and in future, if Jack asks you to, if you don't want to, you don't have to, because it is such a precious resource.
Bearing in mind, you will take the consequences of choosing
exactly.
not to.
But obviously, if you know you're not good at dex, and I say make a luck dex check, you might be like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to make that save, therefore I'm not going to bother."
The reality is if you fail, you don't actually lose anything anyway.
That's true.
Other than what the consequence is. So I can't see it being an issue where you'd think, well, fuck it, I'm not going to bother saving.
Unless you're really running low on luck.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
does luck come back?
Long rest. You get 1 point back every long rest.
Slowly.
But
A long
every,
rest is
like,
like
very
2 days.
And obviously, yeah,
Very
long rest
very-
is a few days long.
It's 3 to 6 days, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on where you are. Yeah, it was just a little something on luck, optional.
Cool.
And we'll see whether that comes up again later.
Let's see.
I mean, I'm sure it won't.
He says knowingly.
Cool. So sorry. Back into the role playing. So obviously we had Grandel and Gary having a conversation about moonshine. We have Nyla rummaging about trying to figure out what it is that Gary's.
What his deal is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
what's the deal with Gary?
And then Elias, I think you've probably just come round. So have
I
at
will
it.
come out the front of the shack after I'm thoroughly gone through. I don't know what I would be going through, but like just looking over the shelves and stuff. I will come out of the front of the place, and Bear will run past me as fast as he can. He doesn't really like being inside. And
Nice.
probably just start like chasing butterflies or whatever he can find to chase.
He kind of looks around, like looking for something to kind of, if he's feeling playful, he's had a good sleep, and he kind of runs out into the, he's used to living in the forest. There's always life. And he kind of comes out the front door and kind of stops and sniffs the air and looks around and is just kind of like, looks at you, like confused, like there's nothing out here.
And I'm just gonna go, I know, buddy. I know. I can't. It's just. It's fine. We'll be back in the forest soon. It'll be fine.
Sorry, is Elias still asleep?
Well, I'd probably be asleep until someone woke me. Well, I'd be, I'd be tired. We hadn't slept. My body would be trying to get me to have my 6 to 8 hours.
All right. Well, in that case, Gary walks in with a plate of eggs that he's prepared. Shakes you. All right. Elias, we've got to go, mate. Come on.
I will reluctantly stir.
Yeah, we can't stay here too long. There's people back in town. They need some help.
Sure, I'll get up. Get ready.
I do. I hand the other two the plate of eggs that I've made. Everybody?
I will look quizzically at Gary.
Grandel
Take
digs
them.
right in.
Yeah, you get in there, little fella. Noel, I saw you.
Don't call me little fella.
Wow, yeah, it's I don't mean it in a harsh way or anything, mate. But you are
It's endearing.
quite a little fella.
What
Don't-
part of don't call me little fella do you not understand?
Oh, sorry, mate. All right. God.
Grandel,
Walk away.
Grandel finishes off the egg that he's eating and sort of in fact, he's clearly eaten as much as he was going to eat anyway, but he sort of puts the plate down in a sulky manner and strides out the front of the shack.
So I'll go up to Nyla and say, when should we head off then? Where do you know where these herbs are, or what?
Well,
what's the deal?
I know forests and I know woods. So if we get in there, I could probably tell you where the best places to find them. But as for these particular woods, I have no idea.
Oh, well, I know it a little bit. I've never really gone too far in. Try and avoid it if possible.
So
Can I ask why?
Sorry, say it again.
Sorry, can I ask why you don't go in? I mean, forests are
People tend to not come back out. Nothing really lives in the forest, which is actually quite a strange thing because there's birds singing today, which I've never heard before.
by nothing, you mean like literally nothing lives in the forest? No worms or anything?
Well, I don't know like for certain, but I certainly know that I've never seen like rabbits or heard bird song before.
That is very unusual.
It is very.
Grandel kind of leans his head in from the front door and just goes, "The forest is cursed, everyone knows."
That's correct.
Okay, well, I suggest just head there and I can do a bit more investigation when we get there. I think that's probably the best.
All right.
That makes me want to investigate even more. Shall we go?
Yeah, let's head out.
Let's do it.
Lovely.
Onwards.
Come on, little fella. I start walking towards the woods.
Grandel just sort of grips the haft of his axe tight, and suppress his rage.
Okie dokie. So you kind of all head out in the morning. Gary leaves his shack the way he leaves it all the time, which is just with the door open. And you kind of head towards the woods. Are you heading along the along the dry riverbed?
I think so. I think
I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Cool.
It's certainly what we're more comfortable with.
Yeah, 100%. So you head along this dry riverbed, and as I said, as you get closer to the forest, kind of the ground underneath your feet gets almost crunchier, where you kind of have the crystallized salts that build up from the wind that blows off of the once lake. Someone do me a general lore check.
I have general law as a proficiency.
Yes,
Cool.
I do.
Do a roll. Give me a
It's
check.
a 4. Was it
Ooh.
intelligence?
I think it is, yeah.
Great success.
I also got a great success.
Look at that. So both of you know that the forest is on the banks of the Salt Pit Lake, which was once the Crystal Mirror Lake. At the center of the Crystal Mirror Lake was the once capital of Talanost, known as the Citadel. And it's from there that the Magi used to rule the land. When the Mage's Folly happened and the Salt Pit and the Crystal Mirror Lake got transmuted, if you will, into salt, and all of the life was drained from the area, which is a relatively common, you know this, Elias. Life being pulled out of like plant life is quite common as a kind of thing that is a backlash to magic sometimes. But this was just on an absolutely humongous scale. And so that was when the woods kind of started to die, was when kind of a lot of the life energy was kind of just sapped out of it. What then happened was the winds that would normally have gone across the lake started blowing across down from the north across this like now kind of salt flat, and essentially just salted the forest. All the trees that were on the banks of the lake, essentially they were completely crusted over with this kind of buildup of salt, and actually the trees died and rotted away. And now that, for a few meters into the woods, the trees on the banks are actually just hollow shells of salt that have built up. And actually, you know that no one has seen any actual like plant life on the shore, like at all. But there's no way of knowing if there's life further in the forest because no one ever ventures in there. So you know that if you're going to find herbs, it's going to be deeper into the forest than walking along the path will allow you to reach without actually venturing into the forest itself. And you know this from just what you've heard about the forest and just kind of the logic of the way that the kind of the wind blowing across the river. Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Cool. Well, I'll just keep my eyes peeled, I guess, as we're traveling. Because if this is a dangerous area, then I don't want to get caught off guard.
Are we still hearing birdsong?
You heard there was a singular bird singing. You think
we
it
still hear
was? You can actually, yeah. It was kind of singing as the sun came up, and it's kind of not like constant, but every now and again you kind of hear the bird just singing in the trees to the northeast section of the forest.
Right. Oh, okay.
So obviously the forest is split in two by the river, so you have the kind of northwest side of the forest and northeast side of the forest, and the bird song is coming from the northeast.
So we can hear it somewhere off to our right.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's it's not constant birdsong. It's just like obviously flying about, sitting down, having a bit of a sing, that sort of thing. If actually someone gives me a wilderness lore check.
Oh, me! I can do that. That's a 1, baby.
Oh, wow.
Great success.
Normally a terrible thing, but this time a good one.
So you can actually tell that the bird singing is a thrush.
Okay.
Singing away, which is weird because obviously it's on its own, but yeah, it's definitely a thrush song.
Would I know, because obviously I know birds and stuff, would I know if it sounds like just a territorial, like not a normal bird song, or like a threatened sound, or?
Let's have a think. Yeah, I mean, with a great success, you can probably guess that. You think it's weird? Like, thrushes sing as part of the dawn chorus, and they normally stop when it's kind of, full sun. And it's, it's beginning to get to the point where you would expect it to stop singing, and it's kind of not. It's kind of singing just every now and again still, and you think it's a bit odd that it's still singing, to be honest. But you don't think it sounds like it's in, like, distress. It just is singing for some reason.
Okay. I'm gonna, since I know forest, and I have no idea that this place is cursed, even though they told me, I don't really kind of believe that forests are cursed.
Yeah.
thing to say. I'm just gonna like, if we're close to the edge of the forest or to the beginning of the trees, I'm just gonna make a move to start walking into the thick of the forest, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, I think you probably, you've gotten to the point where you're now kind of just moving into the tree line along the riverbed. So yeah, you can kind of start heading off into the forest. And obviously react as you will, the rest of the party.
Yeah, I'm just walking without any trepidation or anything. I'm just like, yay!
I'm gonna kind of look at Elias and give like a shrug of the shoulders, and then take both my axes off my back, and then walk in after her.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna continue to keep my eyes peeled and follow. Really.
Randall takes his axe out of its sort of holster and looks around at the, obviously to him as a dwarf, even taller trees that are surrounding him, and just to himself kind of goes, "That's a bit early in the day for the first bad idea, but here we go," and he sort of treks off after them.
Never too early for a bad idea.
In real life, I want my role-playing character to be better.
Cool. I want to be better than the real me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you kind of head into the trees. I assume you're trying to like get a feeling for the forest, Bex.
Yeah, it's because if they from what they've told me, I just want to know like, does this place feel weird? Is it obviously it's South Pacific? There's not that many birds singing. But yeah, just like what is?
Give me another wilderness law then.
That's another great success. It's a 4.
Oh wow, look at you.
Well, I'm in my bit, so that makes sense.
100%. So
Bex, I think you found a game where like dice rolling works for you.
I know, it's amazing.
You've just
I'm
rolled
terrible at
just
dice.
utter dire numbers, but in this game it just works in your advantage.
It's amazing.
So with a great success, you kind of go, okay, this forest you kind of think this forest has a bit more of a bad rep than anything else. You think that maybe it used to be completely dead, but you see kind of telltale signs of new life kind of pushing through. There are trees. You kind of, after you get into the forest, like a few hundred feet maybe, you kind of, you've kind of lost the path behind you, and the underbrush stops being kind of quite so crackly and dead, and you find new life in like there's shoots and there's like a couple of little wildflowers every now and again, and the trees have got leaves on them at the top, and like there's new life definitely in the forest. No animals. That strikes you as odd. There's like no animal life that you can see. You see a couple of like bugs that you'd expect, but mainly like just worms and things that you kind of obviously you look for. You mentioned that earlier, so I'd imagine that's something you pick the earth up and kind of look in the earth.
Yeah.
Looking for any signs of like this curse that they've been talking about. And you think that, yeah, maybe once the bad stuff happened here, obviously the lake that gave it its life, its main source of water, was turned to salt. Like, that's going to be bad for a forest. But it appears like new life is kind of eking its way back in again. And you kind of get a sense for where you think that the herbs you're looking for might grow. And you think that if you head deeper into the forest where the new life is stronger because it's like not as close to the edge where all the salt is, then maybe you'll be able to find a shady enough area that has these herbs you're looking for.
I will turn around to my new companions and just say, this forest is far from dead, but I understand why it fills people with, I was going to say dread, because that rhymes, and that was really bad, but never mind. My bard is coming out.
Fine.
And I'll like point at like bugs and things and say, if we head this way, we'll find what we're looking for. But I have no idea what else might be in here. If the life is just starting to come back, I don't know what we'll find.
Okay.
We'll find curses. That's what we'll find.
I don't think it's curses. I think, trees don't tend to like salt very much. This whole place is very salty. I'm guessing that's probably what causes this, and then I do bunny rabbit ear inverted commas curse.
Aha! You admit it.
No. I'm just gonna shake my head and continue walking.
I knew it was cursed. I knew it the whole time.
So yeah, you kind of carry on into the forest, and it kind of gets deeper, and the sunlight comes through, but it's it's kind of like it's a bit of a grey day anyway. It's kind of just the very end of summer. Autumn equinox is only a couple of days away, so it's starting to get a bit chillier now. It looks like it might rain, to be honest. The light that there is, you can kind of see your way. I think, Elias, you probably get to the point in a couple of parts of the forest where you're a bit like, you need to, hold on to someone's shoulder maybe to kind of make sure you know where you're going, otherwise you might lose them because your low light vision isn't quite as good.
It's shit, actually. It says here on the character sheet, shit.
But just where the trees are really closely grouped together, it's kind of gets a little bit darker than you normally would be comfortable with.
Yeah.
But after a little while, you make it into.
I'll tag quite closely to Gary.
Yep. Just for my benefit, just to remind me, what's everyone wearing? You're in robes, aren't you, Elias?
I'm in heavy robes and I'm brandishing a spear.
Cool. And Gary, you're wearing
reinforced hide.
Yep. So like thick kind of hide, like I suppose like a breastplate sort of thing. And you've got twin hand axes.
Twin hand axes and a spear.
Cool, and that's like on your back, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then Grandel, you're wearing leather armor with a hand axe, right?
Yeah, I've got a light axe and I've got 2 daggers in my belt.
Cool. And then Nyla, you're in leather as well, I suppose?
I've got leather armor. I've got my club out rather than my bow.
Cool. And is it a long bow or a short bow you have?
Longbow.
And obviously you've got Bear padding along beside you as well.
Yeah, he's probably can sense something weird about this place, but he's
definitely
happier to be in the forest than on the horrible road.
Yeah, only just. Cool. And you obviously have a hood as well. Is that up or down at the moment?
That's a good point. It'll probably be down, given that I'm trying to keep an eye out for as many signs of where I'm going as possible. Just to be better.
Cool. Good to know. So eventually, after a little while, you kind of come out into a little clearing. And in the center of this clearing is a truly monumental oak tree. It is absolutely massive. It looks like it may have been hit by lightning about 12 times. It is essentially split completely in two down the middle, but still alive somehow.
Does it look like it was hit by lightning recently, or is this
like
over the...
It looks like it's been hit by lightning every couple of years for the last 50 odd years, essentially. Right. It's definitely the tallest thing in the forest for a little while, so you think that's probably why it's been hit by lightning so many times.
But
I could get an absolute fortune for that if I cut that one down.
Mm-hmm. It'd take you a few days though. It's like you couldn't even put your arms around one side of it. It's massive. Give me perception. Actually, what's everyone's perception scores?
16.
What's the plus to that?
Oh, 2.
So you
I've
plus
got
2,
+1.
plus 1.
I've got a +1.
+1.
+1. So, Nyla, just because you've got the +2 perception, you actually will notice that there is in fact a small patch of henbane, which is actually one of the herbs that you know that Elias wants, in the roots of this tree.
Okay.
Can I do a sense magic?
You can.
I don't know how to do that.
You need to make an intelligence or perception check.
It's a success, not a great success.
You get a very dull ache in the back of your head, like kind of when you have like at the very top of your spine, kind of like just at the very base of your skull. There's like a little throb, and you think, there's definitely something here, but you can't pinpoint it.
Okay.
But that's just in terms of like the way the rules work. That's within 30 foot.
Yeah. So, well, be careful, guys. I'm sensing a small amount of magic in the area.
Place is cursed.
It's definitely cursed.
See? It's 2 of us agree.
Absolutely. I'm just walking up to this tree. I'm kind of sizing it up, see how many chops it would take to take it down, sort of price I could get for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How far from the edge of the clearing to the center where the tree is? How far is that?
Yeah, so the tree is probably about... the tree itself, I would say, is probably about 10 foot in diameter.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. And the split means that you could probably walk in the middle of it. Like, you could literally walk through the middle of the tree. And then there's probably about another 10 foot of, like, empty kind of empty, quote unquote, grass space in between that and the tree line. And it kind of essentially just like you can see where the tree line of the oak only just overlaps with the edge of the clearing, and it's obvious that this oak has essentially caused this clearing to come up around it because none of the other trees can get anywhere near it because it takes all the light from them.
Yeah.
And actually, this clearing area is quite hard to walk on because it is just completely covered by the roots of this tree that are all kind of, when they come up through the ground.
Grandel is standing at the very edge of the clearing, like literally maybe like a foot outside of the woods.
Yep.
But he's not moving towards this tree until like things have been defined, whether it's magic or this elf woman who knows what she's talking about when it comes to trees, that kind of thing. He's playing it very cautious at the moment.
Sounds good. Obviously, Gary, you said you were walking towards it, kind of sizing it up.
Yeah. With reckless abandon.
Yeah, Bear and I are also walking with reckless abandon. Well, not reckless abandon. We're sort of working our way towards the roots, so we can. Well.
Yep. Elias?
I will approach. I'm both intrigued by the presence of magic, and we're here for the herbs. So
Cool. So you kind of make your way towards the tree. Those of you who are kind of leaving the tree line, so you're coming towards the tree from an angle that means you can't actually see through the trunk. You could see that there's the split, but you can't see through the gap. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're kind of coming at it from like the side almost. If the kind of split was from front to back, you're coming at it from the side. And as you kind of approach the herbs, which are actually just kind of tucked into one of the roots on the other half of the tree, Nyla, you're probably the first one there. And as you step in line with the kind of the gap, there's this rush of cold air and a stench of decay. And you just... Like Bear immediately, like his fur goes on end, his claws come out, and he just is up on his hackles immediately, and you just feel like sick to your stomach.
I will grab my cloak and like push it to my mouth to try and like block the scent out, and I'll try and like peek, I guess, at like what's making the smell.
It's just like you look through the gap in the trees, and it's like when you kind of look through the trees, you can see there's a pathway in the trees, like on the edge of the grove, that you didn't notice before, and it's like that path is just there's a breeze coming down it, and it just smells horrible.
Okay. I'm just gonna like hold up my hand to indicate like for everyone to sort of stop for a second.
You found a curse, lassie.
Yeah, Elias, you can smell that as well because you're probably heading towards the herbs as well. In fact, to be honest, all of you can smell this. It doesn't smell good.
Let us retrieve the herbs and leave this place.
Yeah.
Does it smell like death and rot?
Yeah, it smells rotten. Yeah.
Okay.
Decay.
Can we see the? You said it was coming from a path. Can we actually see down that path?
You can a little way. It kind of twists off a little bit. All you can see down the path is just that it's a path in the woods, which is weird in itself because you haven't seen any pathways as yet. And it just kind of looks like it's a kind of well-worn desire line through the trees.
Yeah, I think we should get the herbs and we should make a move. I don't like the looks of this.
I'll just start gathering herbs at them.
Cool. Yeah, give me another wilderness law check, Bex.
That's another 4.
Wow, look at you. Yeah, you managed to harvest essentially as much of the herb as you can without damaging the actual herb itself. So you know it will continue to grow. So you get a lot of it, like more than enough for what Elias needs, but you also know that the plant will live and will continue to grow.
I'll make a note in my journal as well that where it roughly is in the forest in case people need it again.
Yep, good shout.
How dank are these herbs?
I mean, it's henbane, so...
So pretty dank.
Yeah. You gather the herbs successfully. And as you do so, Gary, you are obviously looking down the path.
Yeah.
You see movement.
I look closer.
Give me a perception.
Is that insight?
Perception.
I rolled a 3, you guys.
Oh, wow.
Woo. There's a skeleton walking down the pathway.
A skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
You said it so casually. Oh, there's a skeleton coming.
What's up, skeleton? You guys, guys.
What?
Guys. It's a skeleton. It's a skeleton. walking down the path. Just one, is there, Jack?
No.
Sorry, scratch that. There are more than one.
I have already started running.
It's one as high as Gary can count.
I have 10 fingers.
There's more than one.
As you turn to run, you see there are skeletons all in the tree line.
Well,
here
shit.
we go. Here we go.
How many are we talking?
You count maybe 10-ish.
How close is the nearest one to me as I am in the tree line?
Give me percentile.
That is 24.
Okay, the closest one's probably about 10 foot from you.
Okay.
You were quite lucky.
So I didn't hear them as they
Nope.
approached the tree line.
No, you didn't.
Bloody curse.
The others, all of them are stood still apart from the one that's walking down the path.
I know it's
and they
a
all
weird
kind
question, but do they look aggressive?
I was going to say, do they have any weapons, or are they just...
They have weapons. They're all
good.
holding swords.
Right.
But they don't look like they're charging you. You know, they're just kind of stood.
Do any of them have drawn on angry eyebrows?
No, they don't.
Not yet.
Well, in that
I need a
case,
perception check to figure that
I
out.
would like to get as close to Gary as humanly possible, and half scornedly possible as well.
Cool, yeah, you can get
Yeah,
there.
sure. We take a back-to-back stance.
Ass to ass.
Ass to ass.
Yeah.
And I shout out, I'm like, hello? Hello? Right, we don't mean any harm, we're just here for
As
some
you kind of shout out hello, I assume you're kind of directing it to the one that's walking towards you.
Yes.
There's like another blast of cold wind, and you hear the songbird again. Roll initiative.
Okay.
So, this is fun. Initiative in low fantasy gaming is much more fluid than I think most of us will be used to playing 5th edition. So essentially, what you do is you make a dex check, and everyone that succeeds the dex check goes before the enemies, and everyone that fails the dex check goes after the enemies.
I failed.
I rolled an 11 and I succeeded.
Excellent.
I got a great success with 7.
Cool. So a great success is quite useful because it won't be in this instance because there's no boss monsters. Essentially, boss monsters are, as you may have guessed, the slightly tougher enemies within the group, and they always go first in initiative unless someone gets a great success, which means they get to go before them.
Ooh, okay, that's cool.
Right.
Elias?
I succeeded just. I rolled a 16.
Lovely. So something else to note even for everybody is that this is your initiative for this round. Once everyone's had their go, you roll initiative again.
Oh, wow.
It's essentially, I think it's a much more fluid dynamic. So you might find that you go first, then you go last, then you go second. And everyone that succeeds, you get to choose what order you all go in. So of the three of you, who wants to go first?
I'd like to go first, if that's okay.
That's fine with me.
Okay, cool. I will draw my longbow, and I will fire at the closest one.
Lovely. So give me an attack.
Okay, and this is where I have to get high. Right?
Yeah, so this is an actual. So this is much more like the same way as you would normally be used to. Get high, and you add your class modifier for the level you are. So for a ranger,
I think everyone gets +1 at level 1.
I probably
Yes, it is.
Oh,
is
I do not.
That with I rolled a 13 + 1, so 14.
Cool. So that is a hit, and I would normally ask you to roll it for damage now, which would be for a ranged attack. That is the attack, the dice of your weapon,
D8.
and plus your dex modifier. But I'm not going to bother doing that because as you shoot this arrow, and you can tell it's a direct hit, like it goes like through an eye socket, but
Nice.
it doesn't do anything.
Oh,
Like,
that's
it
nice.
sticks there and doesn't do anything? Or
Like
just passes
it
straight
goes
through?
in and it doesn't seem bothered.
I'm gonna look at my bow and be like, that normally works. Okay, I'm gonna like back up close to Gary and I'm gonna
Okay.
like bring Bear with me, so I kind of just so we're in a little group.
Okay. So, does Bear have his own initiative, by the way?
It doesn't actually say. It gives him. I have all this stuff. He has a Dex mod. I can roll initiative for Bear if you like. Or do you want him to just go on my turn?
Just having a quick cursory glance to see whether it says specifically one or the other.
So going on your turn is the simple way, but given that we've got this fluid dynamic where we're going to change, it's probably worth having him roll.
Have his own initiative.
I think that makes more
Yeah.
sense, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, I will roll for Bear. He rolled a 10. Well, he rolled a 9 plus 1, which is 10.
So that's a success.
His Dex is 13, so yes.
Awesome. So he can
Yeah,
go
so you wouldn't
whenever as well.
plus anything to that. You just got to roll under the.
Oh, sorry, no, yeah, apologies. Yeah, so it'd be a 10. A 9.
So that's fine. So he passes. So he'll get to go in the same block as you guys. So who's going to go next?
Grandel can go if that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, I've been looking in the rule book again. I do not
Excellent.
get an attack bonus at level 1 either, which is disappointing. But given that I am nowhere near the group, I'm just gonna sort of turn to face the skeleton or skeletons that are nearest me, and just with my axe held out in front of me, I'm just gonna back towards the group.
Mm-hmm.
But not taking my eyes off the closest skeletons.
So I would say. Oh, go on.
No, carry on.
I would say that essentially sounds like, so there's a lot of different things you can do in combat, and that essentially is, I would say, sounds like the dodge action, because you're taking steps to be defensive. So I think what that'll mean is that anybody attacking you will have disadvantage.
Sounds good to me.
And you'll be able to use your move to get back to the group. So you're with the four of you are all kind of grouped together now.
In fact, thinking about it, it's quite dark in this area, isn't it?
Yeah,
The canopy and the
it's
big
definitely
trees.
lower light.
Is it? Do you reckon that it's dark enough that I could kind of melt into the shadows and gain some stealth?
Yeah. If we just kind of go back and say you're still in the tree line, you could definitely duck into the tree line and kind of disappear in the shadows if you'd like to do that.
Yes, I will certainly give that a go.
Awesome. Give me a stealth check then.
That is a. How do we work out great success again? It's
It's half.
50%. Yeah,
Yeah.
half the number you've got to be.
then I succeed at stealth with a 7, which is a great success.
Excellent. So yeah, you kind of you just back off, you kind of duck into the tree line, and you just disappear into the shadows. Awesome.
Yeah, and then I'll try and make my way towards the group, like sort of ducking behind like the bigger roots that are leading towards the tree.
Definitely. Yeah, so you'll manage to get like pretty much up to them. You can't kind of get to them unless you want to break out of your cover.
No, that's fine. I'm
Cool. Yeah.
sort
So you're
of
nearby, but you're not like necessarily with them. And then Elias, I think you're the next. You're the only other one that succeeded, right?
Yeah, I'm going to. Can I do like an arcane lore check to see what I know about?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I rolled a 6, which is a great success.
You know that skeletons are magically animated. They are essentially just automatons that just follow orders. And you also know that essentially piercing damage does not affect them at all.
Okay. Is that all I know?
Yeah, that's all you know.
Okay.
Oh, you do actually know that. Sorry, I didn't read far enough. You know that they can sense living creatures out to quite a long way, and that the aura, that kind of the magic that sustains them, can last for centuries.
Do I know whether these things are immune to, say, magical sleep?
You do know that all undead are immune to sleep.
Okay, I figured they would be, but
Yeah.
I will relay this information, warn them about the piercing damage, and that they can sense life, which I think would be kind of helpful to Grandel.
Yeah, I'm maybe not as stealthy as I think I am.
Yeah. And I guess that's my go. I've done a check.
So have you just sort of shouted that information into the clearing?
Pretty much, I will.
Cool.
Because I get the impression that you'd have stealthed even kind of to us.
Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely have done that. I don't know whether you're aware of that or not. You might just think that I've fucked off, to be honest.
To be fair, if he did it well enough, you wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Well, no,
And I did get a great success.
Yeah. So I'll just relay out loud about piercing and the sense life abilities. I think they're quite important.
I
Perfect.
appreciate it.
And
Pen-
I stance for incoming skeletons.
Cool. So yeah, you can the check you made, Elias. You can do that, and then you can also take the dodge action if you like.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool. And then there's Bear as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Red Bear, sorry, I was just going to say. Is there a Skelly on his own? Or one that's like...
So the only one that's on his own is the one that's walking up this. They're all kind of separated. They kind of are surrounding the clearing. So none of them are like in. They're not in pairs, but like the one that's most far away, the one that's furthest away from the others, is the one that's kind of approaching down the path.
And that's quite close, yeah, 10 feet.
Yeah, that's like 10 foot away.
All right, I'm gonna send Bear in then. See
Cool.
what happens.
Let's do that.
So this huge tiger starts running towards the skeleton, and he gets to make some attacks. So I'm gonna roll hit. Oh, that's gonna miss. So that's his first claw. That was a 4, by the way. Next one.
Love
And
rolling
a 2.
fours.
That's terrible.
Oh no.
Oh, that's better. That's a 14 with his bite.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay, cool. So I'll roll. Oh, and that's an 8 plus 1 is 9 damage.
Cool. So that
Is
one,
his
yeah.
bite piercing damage by any
It
chance?
doesn't actually say.
I think. Ooh, that's a good point.
Damn it. I was
Let me find.
hoping to knock him down.
Joe, looking at the rules, it doesn't actually say what any of the weapons do.
I think
know
it's
some of
specific.
pretty
So
fucking obvious.
the description of the skeletons actually has the example of arrows, javelins, etc. So I think, although I know in D&D that the bites are piercing damage, I think it's kind of more. I would say kind of. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense that something that's immune to arrows would also be immune to bites. For me, I don't think that makes. It's not the same thing, is it? Really?
No, I
There's a crushing aspect to a bite as well.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm just going to go with it and say you hear the damage. So what that did was that staggered the enemy.
Oh, cool.
Staggered is essentially the D&D version of the D&D, the low fantasy gaming version of bloodied.
Nice.
So when you fall below half hit points, you are staggered.
Awesome.
And they begin to show obvious signs of physical trauma. So, for instance, this one essentially now you can see that it's missing like an arm, and some of its rib cage has like been destroyed.
Tigers are cool.
So now it's the skeletons' go. So 4 of the skeletons are going to kind of come in from the tree line and attack each of you. The one that Bear attacked is going to attack him. So I'll do the one that's attacking Bear first.
Okay.
So that's a 17.
Oh,
So
these things hit. Yeah, that hits.
cool. And then that does 4 damage.
Oh.
Kind of swipes it in with a long sword. Then the other 4 are going to each make an attack on each of you. So, that's a nat 1 against Elias. So that misses. That is a 10 versus Gary.
Nope.
That is a 12 versus Nylan.
No, doesn't hit.
And Grandel, that is an 8.
That is definitely not a hit.
So yeah, they didn't do too well. And the other 6 of them are going to kind of take a step out of the clearing and just stand their ground.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, there are quite a few. Yeah, so that's their go, and that's Gary's go.
So I've got one right next to me,
You do, yeah.
and Elias is back to back with me, and he's got one on him.
Yep. So Gary, Nyla, and Elias are all kind of in a triangle, all together formation. Each one of you's got a skeleton kind of attacking you, and then Grandel is kind of crouched behind some of the roots and has got a skeleton kind of stabbing him through the roots, but failing miserably.
Okay. Can I hit both? I get 2 attacks per round.
Yeah, they're both within reach.
In that case, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to use my battle axe to hit the one in front of me, and that is a 6. So I imagine that's not going to do it.
No, it's that total.
Yes.
Then no, that does not hit. And remember, your second attack is, I believe, at disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
Yeah, because it's off your. So the reason why it's disadvantage is it's offhand. So
that is 13.
that does
the
hit.
lowest number. On the one on Elias. Ideal. Okay. We just reach for this here D8 and add 3 to it.
Exciting.
Make it a good one.
That is 5 total on the one on Elias.
Yeah, you hit him, but he doesn't look like he's staggered.
Okay.
And then everyone rolls initiative again.
Yay!
Running.
I rolled a 2. That's a great success.
Oh, look at you.
I
Well, I don't think it
rolled
really matters here, does it?
a 10, which is a success. But not a great
Excellent.
one.
I also rolled a 10, which is a success, but not a great one.
Look at that.
Nyla rolled a 14, which is a success, and Bear rolled a great success of a 5.
Lovely. Look at that. You all get to go first. So in whatever order you'd like, do some stuff.
Well, I'm gonna jump straight in then, as I'm not with the group at the moment. I'm gonna attempt to slash at this skeleton who's all up in my grill with my light axe.
Yep.
That's an 8, which I'm guessing is a
Not
fail.
quite enough, no.
Is there a kind of like equivalent to like the careful disengage, so I can move away from him without like provoking attacks of opportunity? I don't even know if those are a thing in.
They are a thing.
I had a feeling they would be.
And let me have a look. I did read this earlier.
I also can't seem to find anything in the rule book about damage types, except for the fact that skeletons are immune to piercing.
Yeah, I think it's just like more flavor based. So I think it's kind of a call based thing, because
So
I agree with you. There's
DM discretion then.
Yeah, I think in general case we'll probably use mostly what we're used to in terms of like, arrows do piercing damage and kind of axes and swords do slashing damage. But then there's the key ones with the damages is kind of that there's like elemental damage, which is done by like mages and stuff. And then you have like holy damage as well, which is essentially radiant damage.
Holy damage, Batman.
What would you say a spear used in melee would be?
A spear in melee, I would say it probably is piercing, to be honest. Frustratingly.
Could slash with it, I guess.
You could also hit. You could also
Isn't
hit
meant
with it.
for
You could also hit this like the side, and like use it as a kind of like a try and bludgeon it with the kind of the haft, I suppose.
I feel like that would give you a different damage die though.
Or just have to make it a disadvantage because it's not really how it's supposed to be used. That's kind of, I think, the way I would handle that, to be honest. There doesn't actually say that there is a way for you to withdraw without being attacked.
I think you could probably use your action to disengage, I would have thought.
Yeah, it's weird that there's not a specific thing. I feel like, because there's a thing called, there's something that rogues get.
I've actually it's just occurred to me, with this being a new character, I'm going to use my tricks and techniques, specifically my hidden blade, which, if I bring up the exact rules again, basically allows me to re-roll a melee that I missed. So me re-roll a failed melee attack. So this is one of these things that I get to re-up on a short rest. So.
Okay, so I think just in terms of the that's good. In terms of the disengage item, at second level, rogues get a thing called Skirmisher, which allows you to force disadvantage when moving away from combat. So I think that because of that being a thing, I think maybe that the disengage action
at this point,
would logically make sense. But I think you can probably choose not to attack and disengage, but you can't do it as well as, I think.
I can't attack and then run away and not suffer consequences.
Exactly.
Incidentally, that roll was a 6, even worse than the first roll.
Oh no. Okay. So that is Elias's go. Not Elias's. That's Grandor's go. Who's going to go next?
I'll go next.
I'll
I'm gonna hit it with my spear.
Ooh. So are you going to do what we kind of said? You're going to try and hit it with the haft of it, because obviously you know that piercing damage doesn't really work.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and just like club it with the pointy bit.
Cool.
So is that a disadvantage?
I think do it at disadvantage, just to kind of make the logic there behind you trying to do it in a way that's not really meant to be done.
12.
That hits.
Yay! Is it the same damage dice?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the same damage dice, but it's harder to do it.
That is 4 damage.
Cool, that is now staggered.
Nice. I look pleased.
So I think Nyla, you said you wanted to go next?
I actually want Bear to go.
Oh, yeah, good, cool.
So Bear and his ridiculous amount of attacks he gets, even though he basically missed all of them.
So do them one at a time.
Yes, I will. So, that's a natural 19.
Ooh, what happens on that one? Because
When Bear...
Go ahead.
Carry on.
No, I was just going to say, on in low fantasy gaming, although you get a nat 20, which is a critical, which does maximum damage plus something, with a natural 19, it sometimes triggers interesting effects, which is what we're going to experience now.
Yes. So on a natural 19, Bear basically launches himself at whatever he's fighting, and the target is instantly knocked prone.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, so he basically just barrels into him. Actually, just puts his paw on him and fells him like a tree.
Slap.
Nice.
Yeah.
Give me damage on that.
Oh god, I got my dice out. So that is 4 plus 2, so that's 6.
Nice. So
His
yeah, Bear eventually he launches up and smashes this skeleton to the floor, and it just shatters, and all the bones just kind of skitter across the floor, and you've destroyed that skeleton.
Yay! So I get
Yeah,
to
Gary,
attack
just go.
my
Nice.
attack. Yeah, Bear's good.
So yeah, I think because obviously he's only used an attack, and so you can't use movement and then attack and then use the rest of your movement, but you can do. I think you can do it the other way around. So you can do an attack and then you can use the movement and then do another attack. I think that's okay. So yeah, he can move. He can use his movement to move up to another one and attack it.
Yep, that sounds good. I will do that, and I will roll again.
Which one is he going to move to?
What? Just the closest one to him.
So there's kind of two. There's the one that's kind of that's attacking you, or there's one of the ones that hasn't attacked yet.
I imagine he'd try and help me.
Yep,
So
cool.
he's gonna...
In that case, he'll have advantage because he'll come at it from the other side, so it'll be flanking.
Okay, perfect. Oh, that's 17 plus. It's claws a strength attack, I would imagine.
All
Or is it
melee
dex?
attacks. All melee attacks are strength, and all ranged
Okay,
is
so
dex.
he gets a +4 on that though, so it's 21.
It definitely hits. It definitely hits.
So he'll I'll do another one. That's just 3 damage, or 1 plus 2. And then the last one is his bite. Advantage again.
Yes,
So that's 12 plus 4, 16.
that hits.
And that's a 4 plus 1 is 5.
And that is staggered as well.
Nice.
Wow. Bear is an animal, I was going to say, but yes, he is.
He is. He literally is. And being spurred on by Bear, I will do my attack pretty quick. So I will do my advantage. I'll change to my club and do part of my action.
Yeah, so you have single weapon, don't you? So because you've got a single weapon, you have a free hand. You can swap weapons as part of the attack action. Whereas where Gary has got dual weapons, if he wanted to swap to his spear, he'd have to either use an action to stow them, or he'd have to drop them as a free action and then pull the spear out. But he'd then have to use an action to pick the axes back up again, just as in terms of rules.
So I'm not a strengthy girl. So I rolled a 12 plus 0, so it's 12.
Which hits.
Oh, yay. Roll that, which is another 3 damage.
And that is exactly what you needed, and it dies. So you kind of just use your club and you kind of bop it on the head, and it just kind of falls off the side, and the skeleton just crumples.
Can it make that really nice, satisfying xylophone noise?
100%. 100%.
Okay, cool.
Lovely.
I'll go next, I guess.
Cool. Yep.
Don't mind. I'm going to hit the one in front of me with both axes, because fuck this guy.
Okay.
That is another 6. The first one, just no bueno.
A miss.
And the second one is an 11.
Which hits.
Excellent. That is... Ooh, max damage. That is 12. No, sorry, 11.
Oof. And that is staggered.
The leader.
Very staggered. So... That's all of you, I think, isn't it?
I believe it is.
Cool. So, Elias, that one on you is going to attack you again.
Bring it.
And that is natural 19.
Oh.
It was brung.
It was. So you see this skeleton, like, he lifts his sword and kind of like, he like swings at you and he does 7 damage.
Okay, I hit the deck like a sack of shit.
Can I? Hang
Oh,
on, there's an exploit.
there is. You can do a rescue.
Get in the way. I'm gonna do a rescue. How
rescue.
how
So,
does
the way you do a rescue is, so you, Gary, have to make a dex check.
Okay. Is that a dex luck check or just normal?
No, just a dex check.
Okay. I rolled a 5, so that is a great success.
Awesome. So yeah, you can spin around and see it's happening with enough time to be able to react to it. Now you have to make a luck check.
That is a fail.
Okay.
I rolled a 14, I needed 11.
So yeah, that's a fail. So you see it happening,
Right.
but you just spin around and you just watch it happen, and that's kind of, you just see him felled.
Let me check something real quick.
We do have a reroll. Hint, hint.
Yeah, there is no healing. All right, go on. Because there are no healers, I think it's probably worth doing. I'm going to re-roll that.
Okay.
And that was an 18, so
Oh dear.
that was completely pointless. Fear of madness. Or
No one can say you did try your hardest, though.
absolutely. And I don't think I can trigger a rage outside of my turn for that. So as to enter a rage, you must declare such, blah, blah, blah. You may trigger it in response to suffering damage or being subjected to a charm, fear, or madness effect during someone else's turn.
No, unfortunately, none of that happened.
Well, there we go. We tried. That's the main
So
thing.
Elias hits the deck. This skeleton just slices across him, and as Elias hits the deck, the skeleton that Nyla and Bear had felled just reconstitutes.
What the
And kind
hell?
kind of pulls itself back together again.
From somewhere amongst some roots, you just hear Grandel say, "It's fucking cursed!"
Well, shit.
Is that all of the skeletons have gone, or is?
No, that was just the first one. And then so there's the one on you, Grandel. The one on you, Grandel, is actually attacking at disadvantage because you have cover. Oof, you were lucky there. I rolled a natural 20 and a 3. So he misses.
Hooray for 3.
That one that just came back in front of you, Nyla, is going to attack you. And that's a miss. I got a 7. And then Gary, the one in front of you, is also going to attack you. And that is an 8, so it misses as well.
It certainly does.
So you will notice as you roll your dex checks to see who goes next, is when that one in front of Nyla reconstituted, one of the others disappeared. It just kind of crumpled to the ground.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I rolled a 12 on my dex check. I need to get under 15, so I passed.
Cool.
Yeah, I rolled a 10, normal success.
Lovely.
Bear and I both got great successes. He rolled
Awesome.
a 5 and I rolled an 8.
So, just in terms of what Elias does now, he doesn't actually do anything. So,
'Cause I'm
he is
dead.
'Cause he's
well.
dead.
So Elias is essentially either dead or mostly dead, and we won't. Yeah, we won't know that until at some point
Only
after
mostly
combat.
dead.
One of you checks. Essentially, the mechanic is that there's no death saving throws or anything. What happens is after combat, you will essentially turn him over and have a look at him and see whether he's completely dead or just a little bit dead, and he can get
Wow.
better.
John, it's been lovely having you on the podcast.
Thanks for playing.
It's been a good run.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it
yeah,
was good.
I'll-
It was fun.
I'll just go now, shall I?
Early
play the-
90s, man.
Jack, you have to play the sad walking away music from the Incredible Hulk over.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
But we'll do a few more rounds of combat and see where you get to, and you never know.
How
You might be
many
able
of us
to.
end up dead.
You might be able to find out how dead Elias really is. So who's going to go first? You all succeeded, so who's going to go first?
Well, I think Bear and I should go because they got the great successes.
Great.
Yep, and that makes sense.
Sure. Bear is gonna roll to hit. Oh, that's a 17 plus 4, so that's a 21.
That hits.
On a claw, that's 4 damage. First
Lovely. That's staggered.
Second hit. Oh, it's another natural 19.
Nice. And let me see how. Let's see how much damage that does. So it kind of pushes you to the floor in front of you.
Yeah. So that's just 3 more damage.
Ooh. And it does not look good.
Let's have a bite then. That's an 11 plus 4, so 15.
That hits.
And that it's just 2. Just 2 damage.
And that kills it.
Yay!
So that's that one down. Nyla, did you want to go as well?
Is there one still now? It was still close to us at all.
Yep. So there's the one there was the one that just downed Elias.
All right, I will turn for that one then and have a go in my club.
Mm-hmm.
In the club, but I miss because that's a 6.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Ed's doing all the work.
He really is.
With my club, I can't hit him. I'm literally a ranged fighter, and I can't do anything with him.
Cool. Gary or Grandel, who's going next?
I will take the honours if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And I will fly into a most ferocious rage, seeing my downed party member.
Yep.
And just
Was the most ferocious rage.
Guttural screaming. You see his eyes just go absolutely just blank, just looking straight through this thing.
This is the half scorn that Nyla has heard of before.
Absolutely.
I was thinking, oh, there he is.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, Jack, tell me, if I wanted to powerbomb this thing, like, what do I need to do?
Well, first you have to explain what a power bomb is.
Bend it over, grab it around the waist, and then...
Because I am not a wrestling person.
Come on, Jack.
I'm sorry.
I think they're called wrestlers.
Whatever. I'm not a fan of wrestling, is what I mean.
You can imagine two guys stood face to face, and
I can imagine that.
Okay. Keep that in
That's
your
it. That's a
mind.
power bomb. There you go.
The attacker puts the defender's head between his legs, and then he flips him up so he's sat with his belly to the attacker's face on his shoulders, and then the attacker sits down while slamming the head and back of said defender into the ground.
Okay.
Power bomb.
I can't imagine that, but go ahead.
Why don't you just take a second to Google power bombing?
By your explanation, Mark.
Image search GIFs. You'll find it pretty soon.
Just basically slamming this
Oh,
motherfucker.
yeah, I
He
see
wants
what
to
you mean.
pick him
I
up and
see what you're
smash him
talking
out
about.
the ground.
I have seen that before. Okay.
But you're not a wrestling person.
No, I'm not.
Would you describe that as a minor exploit?
I would 100% describe that as a minor exploit. So do me an attack.
I will. That is a 15
That'll hit.
total.
That's a hit, yep.
I mean, you know, what does that do?
So essentially, it gives like a disadvantage to the. So you'll knock it prone essentially.
I will do that.
And give me some damage.
What we call it? What damage are we calling a power?
So
bomb?
it's the same damage as you would do with with an attack essentially.
Excellent. That is 3 plus 5 because I'm raging.
It dies.
Oh.
That's 8.
You powerbomb it to pieces.
Ideal.
You literally like smash it to the floor, and its bits just scatter.
Like
Excellent.
And you can
almost
still
a
make your
last
offhand attack
ride.
because that is part of your attack. So you can still make your offhand attack as well if you want to.
Ugh, that's awesome.
Sure, I will.
The
Why wouldn't
one
you?
in front of Elias is still up.
That is a 5.
That is a miss.
No, that's a 7, but still, it's probably still going to be a miss.
Yeah,
tried.
it is. Yeah.
Cool. I'm happy with that.
That is everybody, I think, isn't it?
No, it's me.
Oh, you. Apologies, Grandel.
It's me.
So we're all hidden. We forgot you.
Yeah. Stealthy. I'm still in the same position where if it attacks me, it's got disadvantage.
Yeah, you kind of managed to get yourself into a good position in the roots, so you're
Yeah,
kind of
no,
you
I'm-
have the upper hand at the moment in terms of positioning.
Yeah, no, I'm going to stay where I am. I'm going to try and hack at him with my axe again.
Cool.
So that's better. That's a 14.
That it hits.
Awesome. I know what the answer to this already is, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is this skeleton surprised?
No, it's not, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
didn't think so. So that means I don't get my backstab bonus. So
No,
it's
you
just
don't.
1d6 worth of damage, which is a 6. Hell yes.
Lovely. So that's he's staggered. That skeleton is staggered now. The one on you,
Awesome.
Grandel. So you've kind of got a good number of them looking. So the two that are still on the party are very much staggered. There is then, as you get ready to go in for the next round of attacks, there's another stiff, like decay kind of cold breeze, and you hear the thrush sing again. And this time, 3 more of the skeletons around the glade just fall to bones.
Okay. But the ones that we've been fighting don't get up again.
Nope.
Interesting.
And roll initiative.
Ah, shit.
As a natural 1.
Ooh.
Yeah. I got the opposite of that.
Oh no.
A natural 20. Is there any initiative effect for a great failure?
No, you just go dead last.
Cool.
Oh, it's just me. So I have a past...
Yeah, Elias is dead.
Yeah, sorry.
I rolled a
and then I was
40.
like,
Roll the D100.
Bear got a success and I got a great success.
Nice. So, who wants to go first?
Garo will go first. He's on a roll. He's raging. He's
Sweet.
gonna attempt to crush the skull of the other one with his bare hands.
Nice. Okay, so if you're doing bare hands, that's actually is a type of damage, and that is, I think, a 1d4.
Fine, I'll take it. So roll to hit is not so
He's
good.
raging, so is it a 1d4 plus 5?
Would be, yes.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. It's 1d2 plus strength.
Okay. I don't think that's going to make a difference because I rolled 9 total on that one.
No, that doesn't hit.
In that case, that sucks, and that will be my go.
Is the one that we were just fighting still alive next to me and Bear?
You destroyed the one. The closest one to you and Bear is the one that Elias was fighting.
Okay, cool. Bear, Bear will do that. That's 15 plus 4, so
That hits.
19.
That hits.
That's 3 damage.
Cool.
And then second attack is a 16 plus 4, which is 20.
That hits.
And that's another 4 damage.
It's down.
Okay, perfect. And then he will. he's on a roll, so he's gonna run to the next closest one. I guess.
That's the one attacking Grandel.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. And he's gonna try and bite. And that's a 8 plus 4 is 12.
That hits.
7 damage.
That is also destroyed. And as those 2 skeletons kind of crumble, the other 2 skeletons in the glade also crumble, and you've just successfully gotten through your first combat.
Yay!
Apart from
hey, John.
Elias.
Apart from
Say
Elias.
the word successful in this case is very subjective.
I mean, you didn't all die. So now we just get to do a all dead, mostly dead check.
Yay!
So Elias, you need to make a
favorite
con
kind of
check.
I'm gonna. Just watch me. I say watch. Just listen.
Listen to this roll.
Well, I'm going to re-roll that. I'm going to use one of my re-rolls because
Cool.
that was me dead.
Hey guys, thanks for coming back for episode 2. Hope you're enjoying it so far. I hope you've noticed that we've improved our audio a little, and I want to let you know that it does continue to improve in future episodes too. At the beginning we had some technical difficulties, so thank you for bearing with us on that one. Before I let you get back to the story and finding out whether or not Elias is dead or mostly dead, I just want to do a few shout outs. Firstly, a great big thank you to Ed Scott, who did our amazing intro music that obviously I've been using all over the place because it is absolutely fantastic. You can find him on Instagram at Ed Scott, which is all one word, EDDSCOTT. He's amazing guy, really, really creative, and hopefully we'll be getting some more stuff from him in the future where we need it. I also wanted to shout out to Melissa as well, who created our logo. She is super talented and was really great to work with. You can find her Etsy shop. She's called Big Lady Dino. That's on Etsy, so hit her up if you need anything done. She is fantastic. That's actually all the shout outs I've got this week. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. As always, like, comment, subscribe on all of our stuff. We're on Insta, Facebook, and Twitter. We want to see your comments, so use hashtag Nang, hashtag Nangcast. And yeah, just let us know what you think. So thanks for listening, everybody. This next episode will be out on the 27th, so just after Christmas. Hope everyone will have had a good time and enjoy the Christmas holidays. I know we all are looking forward to it at Nothing Convention, Nothing Gained, so make sure you're listening, tuning in again in a fortnight, and have a good time. Bye.
That's much better. That's a 12. So.
There we go. Look at that. So you roll Elias over, and he is only mostly dead. He isn't completely gone just yet. He's unconscious and in the process of dying. But if you guys are quick, you'll be able to save him. Essentially, you can just kind of staunch his wounds. Kind of, someone give me a apothecary check.
Not me.
Oh wait, Elias is the guy with apothecary.
Yeah.
Ideal.
Okay, in that case, give me a wilderness law check, Nyla, but it's going to be harder. So let's say you need a great success.
That's a 4.
Look at that.
That's a great success.
So yeah, you manage to kind of look at the herbs you've just gathered, and you think, oh, actually, these probably can be used for this. So you kind of pack them into the wound a little bit, and kind of put a bit of bandage around his chest where he's kind of been slashed, and you manage to staunch the wounds, and he ain't going nowhere just yet. And
die on me.
you will wake up in 2 minutes. So essentially, what happens is it takes a little while because there's no healing magic to just bring him back to his senses immediately. It takes him a little while to come round, and after a couple of minutes of light cajoling, as it were, Elias will kind of come back round, and he'll have only the 1 hit point now. And
Not far off my next one.
you
Do I
need to roll a d20, please, for the injury table.
I've got it open, ready.
That is a 16.
So you have shock, which means you have disadvantage on initiative checks. And you have to do 1d3 days of rest. So that is 1 day of rest to have that injury mend. But for now, you're in shock, so you need to have disadvantage on initiative checks until you've managed to rest for a day.
Okay.
I have seen the rest of that list, and that's not a bad
That's a really good
I was
one.
No,
gonna say, I
it is
think in
not.
Shock, you got off fairly lightly.
He did. And it actually quite nicely makes sense. He lost a lot of blood. He's in shock. There's some logic there, which is nice. So that songbird is still singing. And it's definitely from the end of the path.
Before we move on, I just want to have a quick check of the skeletons and just see if I can discern anything about their, how they worked or if they've got anything cool on them. I guess any amulets to resurrect them or anything like that. I don't know.
Give me an investigation check.
Investigation. I do not have that.
Give me a perception then. Just give me a perception check.
There's also detection.
Or detection. Yeah.
I do have a detection. That's
Cool.
fine.
Give me that then. Yeah, that's fine. Give me that one.
I rolled a great success on a 2.
Nice. So you see that these skeletons are covered in salt crystals. The bones are they look like they've been soaked in salt water and then left to dry. So they have all the crystals forming off them. The swords are kind of rusty. They're really stereotypical skeletons from an RPG type thing. They're literally just skeletons with a sword in its hand.
Almost from an RPG.
But you know what I mean? In terms of the visuals.
Well, that's how Nyla would think of it, obviously.
Exactly.
These are just like RPG skeletons.
This is like LARP.
But yeah, they're really kind of that really stereotypical, bare bone skeleton with the sword in hand. The only difference is really that they've got these kind of salt crystals growing off of them. But yeah, they just look like kind of scared. They haven't got anything other than the swords. They haven't got anything on them at all. You will kind of notice though that the swords where they've been dropped when the skeleton kind of falls apart, the hand bones are actually like fused to the sword, like by the salt crystals. So although like the kind of the wrist bone and that is all kind of fallen apart, the actual fingers are just fused to the hilt of the skeleton of the sword with the salt crystals.
Now, when the songbirds sang, was it a matter that when the songbird sang, the skeleton died, or when the songbirds sang, the skeletons were resurrected? Because that kind of happened at the same time.
So when the songbirds sang, the most recent time, skeletons just they died, for want of a better term.
And the bird song has been occurring at the same time as this fetid breath washes over us.
Yeah,
Well,
that's kind of the fetid breath. Yeah, that kind of cold, like fetid smell. That's a good
stench
word.
of decay.
That stench smell that you get with the cold wind. That kind of occurs at the same time as the thrush's song.
Just because I want to clarify a little bit. When you say stench of decay, does it smell like a compost heap, like sort of
No, like
it smells like it smells like bad meat.
So, decay is probably the wrong word. Then actually, it's more like stale, old air that's not moved, and you're kind of getting this kind of smell of like still
as from a crypt, what has been opened.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing you could say.
Okay. Musty.
Yeah, musty, kind of stale.
I'm gonna check that Elias is not. Well, he's fine, I guess.
He'll have woken up by now.
Oh, in that case, I will bolt upright.
That will hurt.
Very startled. And then I cry a little bit.
Give me a percentile, please, Elias.
You need to know how much you cry.
How long do you cry for?
26
days.
Years.
Story of my life.
You have this feeling, this kind of taste in your mouth, kind of the tang of blood in your mouth, from where you've obviously been hurt and almost killed. And you sit up, and your head's spinning, and you hear that bird song, and you feel like right on the edge of your mind, and you can't quite grasp it, is a name, but before you get the chance to kind of say it, it's gone.
Should we,
guys? I think we need to leave this clearing. I lost a lot of blood. I might have soiled myself ever so slightly. And we have the herbs that we came from. 4 C's the concussion. I fear I have lost the use of my legs, so if you wouldn't mind, Gary, would you carry me?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Should we not go check out this songbird? I'm quite intrigued.
Do we not remember when I very almost died?
Yeah,
remember that.
That is true. Yeah, I remember actually.
Look, the forest is cursed, the trees cursed, the skeletons are cursed, that stinky breath, the bird's probably fucking cursed. Why are we going that way?
I'm already walking that way.
Why are you going that way?
Bird.
Evil bird of death.
You don't know that.
No, and I don't want to find out for sure.
I'm just gonna start walking towards it.
Bloody elves.
Are you going to be all right, Elias?
I'm not sure, Gary.
You guys can stay here. I'll go check it out. If I come running backwards, then also run.
Nyla, would you like me to tend to Bear's wounds before you leave?
Oh yeah, if you could, that would be amazing.
I'd like to just do a little apothecary check to see what I can do to Bear's wounds, because I do believe he was hit.
He was, yeah. Yeah, you can do an apothecary check.
3.
Wow.
That's great success.
Before I even manage to say you'll need a great success because it's an animal rather than a person, there it goes. So you'll be able to kind of, put a bandage around him, stop the bleeding. He won't gain any more hit points, but he'll be in better shape.
Grendel is stood at the head, at about a foot away from Bear's head, and he's just holding out some beef jerky, and he's going, "Who's a good kitty? Who saved me from the nasty skeleton? You want some beef? You want some beef?" I'm kind of shaking at him, like far enough away because it's a fucking tiger, Like I don't know where I stand with this, but if he would like some meat,
He'd very delicately take it from you, I would imagine.
He's a good kitty. And I sort of reach out my hand like I'm gonna stroke his head, and then I think better of it, and I just kind of, yeah, he's a good kitty.
Nice kitty.
As he's eating that, he will kind of look at you, Nyla, and he'll look down that path and just look back at you.
Yeah, I nod at him, and I'm gonna start walking towards it and hope that Bear follows me once he's been treated.
He does.
And yeah. So I will start walking down the path. I will have my bow out, even though I know it doesn't do anything against skeletons, but it's just a first. it's a reaction. It makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
Have a bow.
And is everyone else staying in the clearing?
Could we possibly just take 5 minutes so we can all join you, Nyla?
Look, if we're going, then we're going. I'm going with the bloody big cat, but 5 minutes would be nice.
Yeah, if you could just let me just kind of patch up the rest of my wounds real quick.
Okay. I walk
Can't
to
let you go by yourself.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to walk to the beginning of the path where the bird's coming through and just keep an ear open so I can make sure it's still singing.
Yeah.
I would just like to just take a very quick short rest to see.
Yeah, so the short rests, it's kind of worth pointing out that they only take literally like 5 minutes in low fantasy gaming.
Let's do that.
That's kind of what Elias is kind of pointing at here.
Yeah,
and obviously, I think you've all lost some hit points, maybe?
I don't believe I have.
No, but you have used one of your...
I have indeed.
I think you've used one of your abilities.
Techniques.
Yeah, and did someone use a reroll as well?
Yes.
I did.
I used a reroll and I raged.
Yeah, so you could potentially get that stuff back as well. So yeah, let's do a short rest. So pick how many will saves you want to make, 1, 2, or 3, and then roll them, see how many you succeed on, and then we'll figure out what it is you apply them to. I think, Nyla, you can use your will saves to get Bear some health back, I think.
I was just about to ask, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way that works. You kind of share the will saves, I think, between you and the animal companion.
So, sorry, go ahead, man.
So you only get 3 will saves, and that's over the 3 short rests.
No, so you get 3 will saves, 1 short rest, 2 will saves on another short rest, and 1 will save on another short rest, but you can use them in any order you want, and you also have an extra number of will saves that you can spend whenever you want, equal to your con modifier.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I get a re-roll back, and I get rage back, but I failed one of the will saves. So
cool. So you used your 3 up. So essentially, you guys just need to track whether you've used your 1, 2, or 3 short rest, and any additional that you've spent as well. So yeah, that's cool.
So how many hit points do we get back?
You get half lost plus con.
Okay, perfect.
So I've just used the 1, and I actually got a great success with a 2.
Awesome.
So I've got my 1 use of tricks and techniques back.
Excellent.
I used 2, but failed 1, so I'm going to get some hit points back.
Sweet.
I used 1 and on for Bear, and I healed back up.
Awesome.
good short resting.
Lovely.
Yeah, so, awesome.
Right.
Onwards.
So are we gonna go check out this bird then?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I take a moment, Jack, to cast Pierce the Veil.
Ooh, what does that do?
Ooh.
That's cool.
The caster may spend an action to pinpoint and identify magic within a 30-foot radius. So it includes magical items, trapped runes, and personal charms. The broad nature of any magic is revealed, but it lasts for 2d6 hours.
Cool, roll that.
Which is 9 hours.
Nice.
So it's kind of like a more concentrated version of my innate detect kind of sense magic ability.
Just as a kind of an aside on that detect magic you used earlier, the kind of sense magic, everybody has the ability to do that. You just don't necessarily, you're not necessarily as, literally there's no proficiency or anything. It's either perception or wisdom or intelligence. You can make an intelligence or perception check to sense magic in a 30-foot area. But because essentially what it is it's just you get a feeling and everyone's feeling is different. So for Elias, I've just described it as this kind of dull ache in the base of his skull, but it might be different. Well, it will be different for everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's just something, just kind of a note, because I don't think it's necessarily something that you'd assume that you would be able to do because you're not magic users.
Yeah, but this is a kind of a more
Yeah. This is a very specific. So immediately, as soon as you cast that, Elias, you immediately can sense this kind of magic coming off of these skeletons. It's a very low aura. It feels like it's been disrupted, but it's definitely still there.
That's just kind of where I was going with it. I thought if we were going to potentially be ambushed again, it would be by maybe some more undead. So I thought this give us a heads up, and I passed my dark and dangerous magic check.
Oh, good, cool.
So
Hooray!
I'm now to 3.
Awesome. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it'll keep going up.
Though. Like we're already at 3, and
yeah, it'll ramp.
I feel like very little magic has actually happened to be at 3.
Yep.
Grandol, knowing that we're about to walk into this horrible smell towards this weird fucking bird, he sort of looks around at the big ass trees around him again, takes out his hip flask, takes a nice big swig of this moonshine, and then pockets it back again before he walks off.
Nice. Yeah, you kind of
Roll
go.
to see if you go blind.
I've got Dwarven Constitution. I'm sure I'm fine.
But yeah, like that
He says,
stuff
speaking to a tree.
hits
He
you.
says with
But...
his eyes closed.
but yeah, so you're gonna head down that little pathway.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I'm going to insist that Elias get behind me.
I
I
don't
think-
think it's just that everyone takes note that I think this is a bad idea.
Noted.
I want that in.
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm writing it on my notes. Elias. Right, so yeah, I will try and track this bird then and see if I can hear where it's coming from.
Cool. Yeah, it's the path is very clear. It's like the bird is where it does sing, which is not that often. It just seems like it's just in front of you, just down the path. So yeah, you kind of.
Nyla, this may seem weird, but have you tried addressing the bird? I do feel you'd probably be best suited for talking to an entity of the forest.
I can.
Because clearly this is not a natural phenomenon that we're kind of suffering here.
No, it's a curse.
I always feel it's best to make introductions face to face. So.
You see, you're assuming that it has a face.
Bird.
I mean, it sounds like a bird.
You know, skeletons didn't have faces, technically. Just saying.
So you kind of get to the end of this path, and you come into what can only really be described as kind of like an ornamental garden.
How's the magic tingles?
Oh, they're much stronger here.
Am I getting
Directly.
the broad nature of any magic is revealed to me?
Yeah.
Is it ouchy magic?
No. This feels like very, very potent transmutation-y kind of, very, very changeable kind of transmutation magic. Which, as you kind of look up, makes a lot more sense. There's this kind of ornamental garden. It's kind of unkept. There's a small stone house. Not a house. Kind of like... it's not a crypt. It's like a little... Almost like... no, it's like a reliquary, I always say. Like a little... It's a shrine. It's a little shrine. The garden itself is kind of... It's like 4 little like raised beds around a fountain, and the southernmost kind of path out of the centre has this little stone shrine in which there is a statue of a woman. Now this fountain is essentially mid-flow, like there's this like beautiful like cascade of water which is completely frozen solid as salt. As soon as you step into this clearing, you feel calm.
Eerily calm?
Like, just like Gary, you don't think you could rage here.
I don't know, I'm pretty angry.
It's just peaceful.
Does Gary just say that out loud?
Yeah, get out of nowhere.
But yeah, so
Voices in
it
his
just
head.
it just feels really peaceful, and yeah, you see a lot. There's like magic like radiating off this fountain, which you kind of think is for obvious reasons because it's obviously been turned to salt at the same time as the what's the word? lake. Yeah. So when the lake was turned to salt, this fountain obviously was as well. And
Does it seem to be kind of the most heavily kind of condensed area of magic.
100%. Like that's where all the magic is kind of radiating from. And there's a shrine as well, and the shrine itself, the statue is only just less magical than the actual the waterfall, the fountain.
I mean, that might be the case, but I'm very intrigued by the statue. Carrie, since you've been carrying me this whole way, would you mind walking me to the statue, please?
Yeah, sure. Do you think this is a natural phenomenon?
Phenomenon. Quite the opposite, Gary.
Just phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Did I say that right?
You did well, Gary. I'm going to pat him on the head. Well done.
Thank
To the
me.
statue.
All right, walk over to the statue.
Just before, go ahead.
For my own headcanon, are you carrying him like
a child,
gentleman,
like a small
or
child.
okay?
Yeah.
He's
The
got his
bodyguard.
arms around my neck, weeping gently.
Mm-hmm.
You know my penchant for yaoi art, Mark. I'm getting rid of yaoi.
Go to the fan art.
The first one from a player.
Oh dear. Gary X Elias is a weird one, seeing as the players are brothers.
Yeah, that's what makes it weird.
So before I kind of say what it is Elias sees when he gets over to the statue, what is everybody else doing? Obviously, Gary is carrying Elias to the statue, but what are Nyla and Bear doing?
Nyla is still looking for this bird.
Oh yes, good point. Actually, just as a kind of when you came around the corner, the bird is actually on the top of the shrine, just kind of singing. So the shrine, the statue is kind of in a little alcove that's kind of covered over by this like stone shrine.
Right.
So I mean, it's kind of like so it's like a little kind of pitched roof stone, like I don't know how else to describe it. Like little like
It's kind of like a statue of the Madonna that you might see with that.
yeah, like it's inset, kind of just to protect it from the elements a little bit, with this beautiful statue of a woman, which I will describe more in a moment. But yeah, the bird is kind of on the roof of this little shrine.
In which case, I'm gonna move slowly towards the bird and try and like talk to it in Elven, because that for me is more relaxing, I guess, and what I'm used to speaking to animals in. So I will just calmly talk to the bird and just be like, "Hi, little fella. Are you the one who helped us with those skeletons?"
So just actually, as an aside there, whilst you've brought up the subject of languages, that's something we actually didn't talk about in too much detail during character creation, is that everybody has a certain number of languages they speak. So the elf and the dwarf both speak Elvish and Dwarvish respectively, and then you also know Common. And so there's 3 different variants of Common in Talanost. There's kind of regular Common, so just Common, which is what everybody speaks. Like everybody can speak Common, essentially full stop, apart from some of the more like, so the Scorn don't necessarily know how to speak Common. They probably can speak Low Common, which essentially is a kind of more guttural version of Common that the more animalistic races speak, and like goblins and ogres and Scorn all speak. And then you have High Common, which is the language that like the noble houses of the different races used to converse in. So rather than so like the elves and the dwarves kind of would use High Common to talk to each other, rather than deigning to understand each other's language. And then there's also Elven, Dwarvish, and there's also a kind of halfling language, which basically no one other than halflings can even get their head round, because it's just nonsense a lot of the time. And then there's also the language of magic itself, which only magic users are able to even remotely understand. And so everyone gets their racial language along with Common and a number of languages extra equal to your intelligence modifier. So because Gary has got a negative modifier to his intelligence, it essentially means that he can only speak Common and he cannot read or write.
Yeah.
Can I put my case forward for, since my native language is Common, can I put my case forward for having High Common as also my free other language?
Yeah, I suppose so. You probably could argue that. You were raised, by...
Yeah, because Nyla gets common and elf for free.
But then you also get a second reroll dice, John.
Yeah, but they get.
But no. I think that makes sense. Yeah, you would probably know common and high common. Yeah, and then you probably know what, like, 3 other. Dwarvish. Yeah, you know common and dwarvish, and then you probably know common. Oh, you probably know common and high common, don't you, as well, Nyla? To be honest, because you have an extra language, don't you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear your thing. Yeah, so I've got common and elven, and I've got a positive intelligence modifier, so I've got high common as well.
Yeah, that makes sense, because obviously you're from kind of a noble house, so it makes sense that you would know that.
Yeah.
And then, Elias, what are your other three you've decided to go for?
Well, common, high common, dwarvish, magic, and as we discussed, Jack, pigeon, elf.
Yeah, so dwarves are a lot more integrated with human society. They are traders, and just because John's kind of background of, which we'll probably get into a little bit more detail later on in the storyline, but John's background means that he would have had kind of dealings with dwarves, because he comes from the city, which is where there are a lot of dwarves there to trade with. So it makes sense that he would know dwarvish, and being a man of learning, it made sense that he would kind of make an effort to learn Elvish. So he understands Elvish and can speak a dialect of Elvish. But if and when he decides to do so, we will find out more about that then.
I've never encountered an elf, but I have.
No.
I have studied elves.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's not creepy at all.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a bit more detail when we get to a point where he decides to talk Elvish. But so for now, we're back in so we're in this grove. You're heading towards the bird, Nyla, to talk to this bird, trying to see if it's going to talk back to you. Gary and Elias are heading towards the statue to have a look at it. And what's Grandel doing?
Grandel is once again sort of keeping his distance. He's at the edge of the forest. Every now and then, sort of glancing back over his shoulder because he doesn't trust that the skeletons are completely dead, and worried that they're going to sneak up on them again. So just sort of being lookout, basically, because he doesn't understand this magic stuff.
Yeah, as soon as you step through the into the kind of boundaries of this garden, your concerns about the skeletons do lessen somewhat.
Okay.
You just kind of feel a little bit more at ease here.
Okay.
That's just kind of like you don't necessarily notice that happens, but it is something that kind of like you don't think about them quite so much.
Okay. In that case, Grandel sort of, again, because he's not doing anything, he still stays near the edge, watching, what's going to happen with this weird statue and just sort of fills his pipe and starts smoking.
Okay. Something I forgot to mention is that from kind of where the statue is, if you like turn and look, like almost like past the fountain, there's almost like you can see that the forest kind of starts to dip away down towards the lake, and you can actually see the lake from where you are. Like, it's overgrown slightly, but you can kind of tell that once upon a time this would have been a really beautiful view of Crystal Mirror Lake when it still was that. So as you kind of look around and you're all doing these various things, Nyla, you get towards the bird, and you kind of Gary and Elias are kind of approaching up behind you as well, and this bird like looks at you kind of quizzically and just kind of sings quite happily and kind of flies, like leaps into the air and flies around the glade a little bit, and kind of comes to sit back on the shrine again, and just kind of looks at you and then just kind of sings again. It doesn't really seem to be taking in what you're saying. Elias,
Can we? Sorry, Jack,
No, go ahead.
Smell the smell.
No, not at all. It doesn't. It smells like. It doesn't smell in here at all. It just kind of smells clean.
Mm.
It doesn't really smell of anything. Like maybe I'd say fresh cut grass, but the grass has not been cut in a long time. But you know what I mean? It just kind of smells kind of earthy and kind of natural.
Fresh.
Yeah. So as you approach and you're kind of saying these things in Elvish, there's a little breeze that kind of rushes round the glade, kind of picks up your kind of plays with your cloak and like brushes everyone's kind of hair and stuff, and you just hear a really light kind of, you're not sure what it was, but you're pretty sure it was kind of really soft laughter
Coming from where the breeze came from.
just like in the wind.
I'm just gonna look around and sort of try and just
Um,
look around.
Does my spider sense tingle? At that?
You are a step ahead of me, Elias. So as kind of Nyla hears this and everyone hears this and starts kind of looking around, Elias, you immediately, without fail, just turn your head in exactly the right direction and you look at the fountain. And everyone else kind of gets there eventually, but Elias, you just know that's where it is. And as you turn, you kind of see the salt that is this fountain, like the water that was once this fountain's, cascade, kind of just shifts. The salt just drops all at once, and then reforms into kind of a salt version of this statue.
Yeah, I at that point I wriggle myself free from Gary's grasp and step behind him.
Okay.
I draw my axe.
So this salt woman, for want of a better term, she is essentially like this beautiful figure. She's kind of clad in so it's obviously a salt. It kind of almost looks like marble because it's just this pure white salt. And she's kind of clad in like these long flowing robes, and her hair like drapes down her back, almost to the floor. You kind of it's a really surreal sound of her voice because you kind of hear in her head, in your head, the correct voice. But with your ears, you kind of hear a kind of harsher version of the voice because it's almost like it's the crackling of the salt kind of tempering her voice as if she's got like a funny filter on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure does.
And she says to you, please, I do not wish you harm. I sense that there is new life in the world. Some have returned and I cannot stay for long, but this is not the world that it once was.
Who are you?
There was once a time when everybody knew my name. I am Astiographis, the Lady of the Lake. John, give me a lore check.
Arcane? General? It's the same
General,
check, doesn't
please.
make a shit's worth of difference. That's a 9. Not great.
So it's a success, though. So yeah, something in the back of your head says you've read about Astiographis before. You're not 100% sure, but you think that you feel like yes, that this is quite a famous name, but you just can't place what it is that actually was famous for. I was the Lady of the Lake. And she kind of looks back over her shoulder and kind of looks out at the what once was the lake, and says, "Not that is something that exists anymore."
Did you send them skeletons to attack us?
I did not send them to attack you. When the Magi and their grand plan destroyed my lake, and with it me, I used the last of my ability, my power to curse this place so that none may take any more from me. For the last 400 years. Yes, and it pains me that I cannot remove it. For 400 years I have dwelt here, unable to undo what I did. But now I sense something. The golden radiance of the gods has returned.
I kind of look over my shoulder at Elias.
As you do that, and she kind of, because she hadn't really seen Elias before then, because he was stood fully behind you. She kind of looks at you, Gary, and then at Elias, and then to Grandel, and then over to Nyla, and just says, 4 of the races working together. That was rare even before the change. You bring to mind an ancient tale of the heroes who sealed the Ancient Ones away. But that story was old even when I was a nymph born from a fast-flowing river. And I remember not the details. If only the world was not what it was. The librarian may have known, but I fear he is just as lost as the rest of the caretakers. I wish to undo what I have done here. but I
Okay.
know no other way than to restore myself. And to do that, I would need even but a single drop of water from my lake.
But it's all gone, though, isn't it?
I mean, there was definitely a lot to unpackage there, my lady.
I know, and my time is short. This curse will not end, and those skeletons you dispatched, and I did my best to stop them. But they will be back, and you must go before they are.
2 questions. Firstly, are you saying that man was to blame for the Ancient Ones leaving?
No, you misunderstand me. The Ancient Ones are not the gods.
Yeah, then yes, I do misunderstand entirely. And this librarian you speak of, who is he or she?
He was another of the caretakers. I fear I cannot linger long to tell you, and you must linger even less. But he was one of the
I've got a question.
Yes,
Supposing
dwarf.
that you help you and you free you and make it all right and that, what's in it for us?
She kind of looks about and in kind of frustration is the only way you can describe the expression on her face, and she says, the return of the order that once allowed the world to be great.
Grendel sort of squares off against this woman and says, look, I mean, that's all well and good and everything, but, I'm not bothered.
She just looks to Elias.
I'm shaking my head at this point, just like, fuck. Like...
Do what you can. Knowledge is your greatest weapon. Seek out the caretakers. If I have survived, they may have done also. This is all I have time for. You must leave this forest. I cannot hold back the curse any longer.
I assure you, my lady,
Run!
if the caretakers have survived, I would say we, but I at least will find them.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Thank you. But as I say, run.
Okay, it was nice to meet you.
And as she says that, she just drops into salt. The salt just collapses underneath her.
Gary,
Right, time to go.
onwards.
She seemed nice.
That fetid stench kind of blows through the trees again.
Yeah, all right.
Are we taking the herbs back to town, or are we going straight to the lake to try and find some water?
Let's go back to town first of all.
I think the caretakers should be our first point of call. We should try and learn more.
What about the herbs? What about the townsfolk?
It is the reason we
that
came out
was-
here.
Kind of yesterday's problem, I feel.
Elias, you have a tingle and you sense that there's skeletons moving towards you through the woods.
I jump into Gary's arms. Onwards,
Which way are we going?
away from the tingles.
They're coming, so the
I point.
tingles are coming from the path you came down.
I point in the opposite direction.
As you point across, you spin your arm round, and you notice that there's a pathway behind the shrine through the woods.
That way.
All right, I'll go. Let's go.
Down towards the lake.
No, away from the lake.
Okay.
I giddy up.
Yep.
Gary.
So yeah, the shrine kind of looks out on the lake. So the kind of behind the shrine is kind of back towards Final Rest, like away from the lake, out of the woods.
Grendel doesn't say anything as he follows, but he's thinking really hard about how he could ask Nyla if it would be all right to ride bear.
Give me a perception check, by the way, Grandel.
Okay. 17, which is a failure.
Cool. That's fine then. Carry on.
I think we should
That's never
head back
ominous.
to town and regroup and come up with a new plan. But away from the undead, quickly.
Do
Gary.
we...
Let's go.
So,
I'm
as we
going.
move out of this glade, presumably we lose that sense of comfort and relaxedness, or did that disappear with the statue woman?
So when Astiograthis turned back to salt again, you kind of that feeling of peace did lessen slightly, but it doesn't go away completely when you leave the ornamental garden, as I described it.
Okay.
Yeah. So you kind of get through the forest. You kind of sense that those skeletons are kind of in the woods, but you manage to get out of the woods before any of them kind of reach you. And as you get to the edge of the woods and you kind of turn back and look over your head, over your shoulder, Elias, you kind of see that the first of the skeletons kind of breaks the tree line and then just crumples. And you're quite far. So if you came in to the woods like through the path, like the dry riverbed, you've kind of gone through the woods like perpendicular to the lake, and you've kind of come out like maybe like an hour or so east of Gary's hut. You can kind of see Gary's hut in the distance, and then Final Rest is kind of obviously further in the distance, kind of if you kind of make the third point of a triangle between the two places.
Are we going to get to town today?
Yeah, the sun's high. It's kind of noon by this point. When you break through the tree line, you're kind of surprised by how bright it is.
Okay.
Because even in that glade, in where the shrine was, the sun was kind of filtered through by the trees. But now you kind of burst out into the open air. It's really bright out, and the clouds that you kind of were gathering as you went into the forest have passed. And but yeah, the sun's high, and you could think you'll easily make it back to town before the day is over.
I do that.
Cool. Yes, you do. Do you want to talk at all whilst you're traveling, or are you just kind of trying to head to town and then kind of think about it whilst you're going? And
I'd like to ask you a question, if that's okay.
Me?
Yes, you.
How exciting!
I know. So she mentioned being a nymph.
She did. Well spotted.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wrote nymph down.
Yeah, she did mention it, but it was kind of in passing. Would I have known a nymph before? Like, I would have heard of them.
Nymphs haven't existed for like hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like, even in the elven stories, nymphs like predate the elves. Like, nymphs were kind of part of the beings that helped shape the world itself. There are tales of there being like a nymph that lives in the elven forest that helps it to be as thriving as it is, but most elves kind of brush them off as being ridiculous.
It's like meeting a fairy book character.
Exactly, yeah.
So, like, Nyla's just all the way back, even while she's in the glade, she was just dumbstruck.
Oh, 100%.
As soon as she realised what it was, and was just like, what? Yeah. So when she comes out of the forest, she's just gonna look at Elias and just be like, a nymph? She's a nymph. A real nymph.
It would seem that way. She definitely implied as much. I'm still trying to comprehend everything she said. She did reveal a lot.
We have to help her.
I would agree. I am very intrigued by what she said, specifically the caretakers.
Yes, definitely. Do you know where they are? Who they
are? Maybe.
Give me an arcane law.
I was going to say I'd like to roll to see. It's a 13, which is just a regular success.
So the caretakers, as far as you know, are kind of like, again, they're kind of those mythical creatures that have been kind of like used to scare kids into behaving, and they're the people that were kind of worshipped as kind of localized gods. And actually, now that you've kind of put that together, you kind of remember more about Astiographis. So where kind of you've now put those two bits of information together, you remember that Astiographis was essentially like revered as being like the being that was the lake. And she was people would take offerings to her temple when they wanted to kind of fish there, or when they were sailing, they would do races on the lake and things. And it was like you would make an offering to her for her to like help you. But other than that, that's kind of really the only well-known one you can think of at the moment.
I mean, I do have divine law as a proficiency, and I know in a world where the gods have been missing for a very long time would probably yield very little, but I would like to think that.
Yeah, I mean, give me divine law if you're kind of thinking about it from that kind of angle. Is it the same check?
Well, as soon as kind of you're talking about like offerings.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Things like that. It's a fail.
Oh well, there you go.
I rolled a 19, so okay, no probs.
So yeah, you kind of all walk back to town. I assume you're still being carried, Elias?
No, I think at this point I'll have. I do think Elias would be very interested in Bear. I'd be checking his wounds, making sure that the bandages I'd applied had kind of.
Yeah, they seem to be working really well. Obviously, he got some hit points back on the short rest as well, and I think it's kind of makes sense that you would that's kind of attributed to the fact that you did him first aid sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I'd be just concerned with his well-being. I mean, it may be fairly obvious to Nyla, but I do seem to know my way around a tiger.
Yeah, do I have to make a roll to like guess? He seems more comfortable than the others are around a tiger, which most people aren't.
No, that seems like I think you can just tell that. Like it's pretty obvious. Yeah, so I think you kind of you all head back to town. You're all kind of thinking about a lot. There's a lot to process. Like you say, Elias, there is a lot of information you just kind of got dumped on you then in a very short space of time, under quite stressful circumstances.
Yeah. And
I think
very, very rushed and.
Yeah, that was intended.
Yeah, I got that impression. I'd be very interested in having a conversation with you, Nyla, at some point about your lineage. I mean, I don't want to be too forward, but you are the first elf I've ever encountered in the flesh, and there is only so much information that textbooks can impart. So if at some point maybe me and you could have a conversation.
It seems like you possibly have some knowledge I am interested in too, so maybe a knowledge exchange would be pertinent.
Then it's agreed. We shall have an exchange of knowledge.
Cool. Yeah, you make it back to town. As you kind of come into town, you kind of look around and you can see that like Antoine has had some of the salties, as they call them, the salt miners. They've helped him, by the looks of things, use some of the bigger bits of the houses that kind of didn't get destroyed completely, and they've kind of made some temporary shelters up over the last kind of 24 hours or so. It's beginning to kind of get into the kind of very early evening. The sun's just started to begin to set, and as you kind of come into town, there are people kind of helping each other, and everyone's kind of pulled together quite a lot. And it looks like the town is it's okay, as much as it can be, considering it was basically razed to the ground. And you look around and you think, okay, so, what do you want to do? What is it that kind of each of you is going to go and help with once you get to town?
I mean, I'd like to just continue to tend to the wounded, really, and just making best use of the herbs we've gathered.
Cool.
Hopefully, not too much time has passed. Yeah.
Cool.
Gary's going to go see if any people seem to be trapped under rubble or,
as soon as Gary kind of gets into town, there are people kind of like spot him and kind of call him over to help kind of some of the people that were in cellars and things, and they're trying to kind of dig them out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There are always a few people in that sort of situation. So yeah, he's definitely can be made. He's kind of put to work as soon as he's spotted, because he's well known in the town anyway.
Yeah, fine. That's what I'll do.
Grandel?
All of the buildings have been razed to the ground, so
yeah,
there's nothing to rob.
No.
There's nothing worth stealing.
No, all the things that everyone's got are essentially the clothes on their back.
I think actually Elias would probably he'd probably instruct Gary to go and lift some heavy things. But I think Grandel, you seem to enjoy a drink or two. Why don't you see if you can retrieve some booze for these people? Alcohol always makes these sort of situations a bit more bearable for the survivors.
I can do that. Yeah, I did have a thing, but I'm more than willing
if you want to do a thing,
to go along with Elias's. No, because it was a secret thing. So
a super secret thing.
Yeah. So can I I sort of trudge towards the rubble of the inn that we were in originally?
Yeah.
Would it be perception to see if we can find any unbroken
give me
bottles of
detection.
booze? Detection. Awesome. I am proficient in that. Yeah, that is a great success.
Awesome. So yeah, you kind of see there's a bottle of booze. Just kind of, it's like a bottle of wine, just sat you know, when it's like it looks really out of place because it just looks like someone's just put it there. And you walk over to it, and as you kind of look down to pick it up, you actually kind of see over the other side of the bit of rubble it's kind of resting on is like, you can see that with a little bit of effort and like with some of the rubble being moved away, you can actually see the stairs down to the cellar. And you kind of spot that, and you think, actually, with not too much effort, you could probably clear that and get access to the cellar.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'll absolutely try and clear the rocks away.
Cool.
Strength check.
Yep.
That is another great success. Another 7.
Excellent. Yeah, you managed to kind of push away some of the rubble and kind of wiggle your way in, and you kind of trud down the stairs carefully, obviously being mindful of.
As I go down, I grab the wine bottle that's just sat there on the other side of the rubble.
Yep.
And because I know I've got access to the cellar, I pop the cork and start drinking that bottle myself.
Cool. Yeah, so you get down to the bottom of the cellar, and it's kind of like there's only a little bit of light filtering in from the stairwell that you've just uncovered. But you can kind of, as you look in, kind of peer into the dark, you can see like one side of it is just racks of wine, and the other side of it is huge barrels of ale.
Okay.
And give me another detection.
That is just a success. Just.
Cool. So just kind of at the end of the opposite end of the cellar, you see something kind of glinting, but you can't make out what it is.
Okay. If I want to look for, so I've got proficiency in traps and locks. That's just like deactivating traps or unlocking stuff. That's not finding them, is it?
I
be
don't
detection or...
think. Yeah, I think detection is to find them, but traps and locks is to kind of undo them. Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, I would like to do another detection check just to see if there's any, like, either traps or, maybe, like, rubble that's going to fall down. Maybe it's not secure enough.
Yep, that makes
to
sense.
be in there, that kind of thing. So, that is another 7, another great success.
Cool. Yeah. So you don't think there's anything down it. You think, to be honest, you think that if it was going to cave in, it would have done by now. And
Cool.
you can't see any traps on the floor or anywhere you'd normally expect to put traps in a kind of cellar like this.
Awesome. In that case, I'm going to walk towards whatever is glinting.
Oh yeah, so you get about halfway towards the other end of the cellar, and you see it's actually it's the lock on a door.
Okay.
It's like the kind of the key plate of a door that was glinting.
Okay. In that case, I veer off to one side and grab like 2 or 3 or 4 bottles of wine, just stick them in my backpack to take out, and then I move towards the door to sort of get a better look at it.
Yep. Cool. It's a big wooden door. It's got the handle on it and a keyhole.
Cool.
It looks pretty sturdy.
I would like to do another detection again for traps, and also just to see if, because I feel like I know locks, I'd be able to tell if it was locked or not.
Mm-hmm, yep.
You could just try it.
Yeah, I could, but I've played enough role-playing games in my life not to open a random fucking door.
That's true.
So that is actually a failure. So 16.
Cool. Yeah. So you have a look at this door and you think, yeah, it's just a door. Probably right.
Okay. Yeah, I try and open it.
It's locked.
I try and unlock it.
Cool. Give me traps and locks.
That is just a success. 16.
Cool. Yeah, it takes you a couple of minutes, but you kind of eventually hear the satisfying click that suggests that the door's opened.
That's the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I slowly open the door.
Yeah, you open the door and kind of peer around as you do so, and you can't really see in. It's quite dark in there. There's a lot less light filtering in, but it's just a small room just the other side of the door.
Nothing in it as far as I can see.
Yeah, you can just about make out just inside the door on the right is like a desk, like a little table with some papers on it and stuff, and there's like a candle on it that's not lit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll presume I've got like a flint or something in my.
Yeah, you'll probably all. Yeah, I'd imagine you'll all have like flint and tinder. That's kind of a standard thing that probably everyone just has.
I'll use that to spark the candle.
Yeah, you can light the candle. As you light it, it kind of illuminates this room. You can see that this desk has got like papers on it. There's a couple of big books. On the far wall opposite the desk, there is a painting of a beautiful woman. Like a human, really long flowing red hair, wearing this like deep green emerald dress. Looks like it was like velvet, crushed velvet dress, off the shoulder type thing. And it's just absolutely, she's a beautiful, really like porcelain skin, kind of just calmly like looking over one shoulder at the kind of at you. And one of those paintings that kind of follows you as you move. And then under the painting is a chest.
Ew. Okay. Do I recognize the woman? Like, is this a sort of famous person from literature or politics? Or
Give me
something that I
general
may have
law.
seen?
Do you have general law?
I do, and that is a success. Normal one.
No, you don't think so. She just thinks she's just probably like just some woman that was painted. Don't think you have heard of anyone mentioning that description.
But it's a really good quality painting.
Oh yeah, it's like a beautiful, high quality oil painting.
Okay. And how big is this chest?
The chest is probably about 2 foot wide, and about a foot deep. Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost exactly the same width as the painting is.
I have a brief look over the sort of papers and books on the desk just to see if there's anything interesting there. Like maybe,
Give me
sales log or something.
give me detection.
Just a success with a 16.
Cool.
No, sorry, no, it's not. No, it's perception's 15, so it's a failure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nothing really grabs your eye.
No.
It's just like it just looks like letters and maybe a journal, but that's boring.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to go straight in with the detection on the chest to look for traps.
Yep.
My thing, and that is a 11, which is a normal success.
Cool. Yeah, it doesn't look trapped to you. You're not even sure whether it's even locked, to be completely honest.
Okay. Then I will try and lift the lid.
Oh yeah, the lid lifts quite easily. It looks empty.
Completely. Can I do detection for secret compartments, please?
You certainly can.
Awesome. Natural 20. Great failure.
Yeah, you just think, nope, nothing in here.
So, disappointed at coming across the first chest of the adventure and it being a bit rubbish. Randall takes one of his daggers and cuts the canvas of the painting out of the frame and rolls it up and shoves it into his backpack.
Cool. As the canvas kind of drops away from the frame, you see there is a door behind the canvas.
I do detection to look for traps.
Cool.
I'm a paranoid dwarf, apparently. That is a natural 1.
Cool.
Great success.
I got it.
Yes, there is a trap.
Awesome. Do I know what kind of trap it is?
It looks like it's probably a poison arrow trap.
Awesome. I would like to...
Like, as you realize there's a trap, you kind of look over your shoulder and you can see, like, telltale holes opposite.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to try and disarm the trap, please.
Yep.
So that is a 4, which is another great success.
Cool. Yeah, you kind of run your hands over the frame of the painting, and you find like a little like lever, and you kind of pull the lever, and you realize, and you hear like a thud. And as you look over your shoulder, you realize the holes have like covered themselves over. So like it's like they've been put into safe mode, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm quite paranoid, but I'm also a fairly brash young dwarf. So I'm just gonna, like, having disarmed the trap, I'm gonna push through the door.
Cool.
Assuming it'll open.
It's a pull door.
Okay. I will pull
Like
it
the
up.
whole, like essentially the canvas was covering up the door, and it's like a little like it's
so
got like an indent where you can put your fingers in and like pull it open.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, behind the door is it's kind of like you could kind of step through this door. The painting's really big, and behind this door there's like a little kind of passageway, and there's a candle lit at the other end in a room.
Okay. So how long is this passageway before the room with the candle?
It's only about 5 foot.
Oh, or literally just a short little like.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a little like
So it's
shaft
the
way
room
into
is-
a second room.
The room is close enough. Can I hear like anyone moving around or any sign of life in there?
Do detection again.
Detection or perception for this one?
Actually, that would be perception. Actually, yeah, that's a good point.
It doesn't matter. It's another 16, which is just a failure.
Cool. No, you can't hear anything. There's just like the candle light is flickering, but other than that, seems fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort of very, very slowly move into the room with the candle, like keeping an eye out at all times for anything that might wish me harm.
Yep. Yeah, you make it to the other end of the little kind of 5 foot corridorette, I suppose. And as you kind of peer in, you see a really strange sight. So, on a bed that's against the wall that you come out of, there is a small table with a candle that's lit, and the candle is right, like there's only an inch of candle left. And lying on this bed is the woman from the painting. She is sound asleep.
No other doors out of this room, I take it.
It's empty. And on that note, I just want to cut across and see what Nyla's doing.
Well, I'm intrigued now. I know what's going to happen in the little room with a woman. Okay. I was sitting there engrossed into what was happening. Yeah, so she's obviously very lost in town, so she'll probably try and save herself some time by going with Elias and trying to help out where she can, but also talk to him a little bit about
Okay,
that
makes sense.
exchange.
Yeah, they've kind of brought all of the injured people into like a kind of like makeshift shack. Kind of, they've stretched some canvas that someone had over some planks to kind of give them some shelter, and they've kind of made little, like, as best they can, made some like comfortable-ish beds to lie the more grievously wounded on it. There's people with broken legs, broken hands, cracked ribs. There's a couple of people with big cuts down their sides. But there's just like they're all kind of, most people are just walking wounded or just dead. So the ones that have got very serious injuries, there's not very many of them. They're the kind of the lucky few that survived the worst of it. Whereas most people kind of ran out of their houses when the shaking started and kind of were okay.
Okay, in which case I will speak. I'm going to try and test Elias a little bit to see how much Elven he speaks, because he seems very interested, and I'm like, how interested is he? So I'm going to just speak to him in Elven and say, put me to work. What do you need?
I clear my throat. Probably quite taken aback by this, and I very clumsily say, "Aid me with the wounded?" Question mark.
As he says that, you cannot help but kind of giggle, because the way he speaks Elvish is like, when you see those kind of comedy, like Shakespeare people speaking English, it's like they're kind of speaking a pretend version of Old English. That's kind of what he's speaking in Elvish. It's like an ancient dialect of Elvish that no one's used for like a couple of centuries. But like he's just kind of saying he's kind of using that. It's really like hyper formal.
Wouldst thou help me?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But that's kind of how he speaks Elvish. It's like a really archaic dialect of Elvish he's kind of managed to teach himself.
Apply the leeches.
Yeah,
sure. I will smile and I will like curtsy. Because that's kind of, how one would normally react to stuff like that. And I will laugh and I will just grab bandages and start helping wrap people up and just where he tells me to go. But I'm going to refuse to answer him if he doesn't speak to me in Elvish. Because this is hilarious.
That's awesome.
I like it.
Okay, well,
I'm really pushing you now, John.
As far as I know, I'm speaking great Elvish.
Yeah. She understood exactly what you meant.
Yeah, you did the thing. I wouldn't know any differently. This is the thing. I would maybe think my pronunciation was slightly off, having never heard it actually spoken. I'm doing it all from textbooks, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this shit's working.
Cool. So yeah, between you kind of help some of the worst off. You do manage to relieve their pain and staunch the wounds, and kind of how to dress them properly. But really, the henbane you collected was more to help relieve the pain than anything else. Like, there's not really anything that the herbs local to this area can do for mending. they're really rare, and they only really grow in the foothills and also in the kind of the elven forest, where that's pretty much where most of the healing herbs in the world kind of come from. That's kind of the only export that the elves have, are like proper healing herbs which actually like help staunch blood flow and that sort of thing. Otherwise it's just kind of like, you know, things that you can pack the wound with, like moss and stuff. But the herbs you collected, they help a bit, and you know people aren't in as pain as much, and that's kind of the best you can do for them. But other than that, you manage to stop the bleeding, and by the you kind of work on them for a couple of hours probably, and by the end of the time you've spent doing that, you've probably managed to get most people into a position that kind of it's good.
The idea was just to make the survivors as comfortable as possible.
Exactly.
Magical healing or
no. I just mean that there are of herbs that could have helped with certain bits of it, like the blood flow and stuff. It can like help stop the bleeding as much, but other than that, like that's all you can really do.
Cool.
Gary,
well,
I suppose. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say we do that.
Yeah.
Or I do that.
Gary,
I helped.
will you give me some strength checks, please?
Absolutely. Roll with advantage. That's a 3. So
Nice.
I just, with my mind, like Magneto, just move entire buildings.
Nice. Yeah, you just managed to kind of. Someone goes, "Oh, there's a really big rock over there. Can you move it?" And you just do. Like it's not even a problem.
Sure can. Absolutely, I
and
can.
you manage to help. You uncover a couple of the cellars in the town and where people had run to, and they kind of freed. And most of them are actually completely fine. And I think after you've done that, you kind of walk over to. Head over to Elias and Nyla, and all of you kind of look around, and you realise that actually Grandel's been missing for a little while.
Classic Grendel.
Classic Grendel.
And
He's just too small. We can't see him.
obviously, you know that you sent him to go and try and find booze, Elias, but that's the last you saw of him. It's been maybe 3 or 4 hours now.
Did you tell him to get booze but not drink the booze?
I don't think I was that specific, frankly. I did tell him to get booze for the townsfolk.
Right.
Maybe he got drunk. Maybe we should go just.
Do you think Bear could sniff him out, Nyla?
Absolutely. Do you have anything that smells like him? I imagine Bear would be able to.
I mean, Bear was travelling with him.
Yeah, he's
as soon as you kind of say, "Do you have anything that smells of him?" Bear just like literally walks straight away from you. It's that beef jerky. He knows what that smells like.
Oh yeah.
Like, so just to cut back to Grandel again, as you kind of stand at the bottom of this bed with this woman in it, her eyes open, and she sits bolt upright, and just your eyes connect. And you just kind of look at each other.
Does she look like surprised or frightened or anything?
She looks completely and utterly amazed to see you. And as she sits bolt upright, her hair kind of like flows back from her, and you see that her ears are actually elven.
Okay. Ooh. And she wearing the same dress that was in the portrait?
Exactly the same dress. She looks like she is essentially the portrait.
Grendel draws himself up to his full height, 4'1". And sort of puts his hand on his chest to make himself look more imposing. He says, "You right there, lassie?"
She looks at you. She kind of like just smiles, and it's radiant smile. And she says something that you don't understand. Right. It's a beautiful language, but you do not understand what she says. But it's kind of like it makes you smile. And she reaches forward and kind of touches the side of your face. And you think it's weird that her hand is like wet.
Okay.
And then you kind of think she keeps just rubbing your face with this wet hand. And then you open your eyes and find that Bear is licking your face.
Okay.
And you are in a heap at the bottom of the stairs. That bottle is in your hand. In the cellar.
First cellar.
At the bottom of this first set of stairs, the bottle in your hand is just open, and like kind of the contents are just poured away, and you're in a heap at the bottom of the stairs.
I take it we follow in behind Bear.
You kind of come around this, and you find this kind of cellar leading down, and you just see Grandel just in a heap at the bottom of the stairs.
So
Found him.
if I'm lying on my back, can I feel whether there are a number of
Red
wine
hot.
bottles in my backpack?
There's nothing in your backpack apart from what was there before.
Right.
But
Okay.
there is a very strong heat just pulsing through your back.
Okay.
I mean, I can't say I'm fully surprised.
This is not what it looks like. The fact of the matter is, this place is cursed.